Hey there, comic book friends! I'm Travis, and it's time for our comic book roundtable. And with me today, I've got some great guests. We're going to talk some books and talk some news and whatever else we can think about that's remotely comic book related. With us tonight, we have Wednesday Serial. Matt, how's it going tonight?
Hello, people. How you doing?
And next to Matt, there we have Jeremy from Stupid Changelog Productions. How's it going, Jeremy?
Going good.
First night on. Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
And then down there on the end, we have Sergeant America. Mike, how's it going?
It is excellent, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I've got some great guests. Okay, so what do we want to talk about first? Anybody, we got a book we're itching to talk about? Do we want to open the floodgates of DC and talk about that because we have all kinds of news and love to spread about DC, or do we want to go somewhere else first? Let's.
I'm good with DC.
Let's do DC. Let's do DC. Let's talk Batgirl first because I know we're gonna talk Batgirl for a while. Let's talk Batgirl.
All right.
So Matt, you read Batgirl, right?
Oh yeah, I read
Right.
Batgirl, or in this case, I read the Birds of Prey revival, which is
Right. I thought it was cool. I'm okay with that.
oh yeah. It was kind of weird how they just threw Huntress in, and I mean, I know that was leftover from the last issue, but last panel to be continued. Oh my God, and they just, I don't know. That was How did you feel about Barbara just wailing on Huntress at the beginning?
Well, I don't know. To me, that seems very out of character. I mean, I know they say in the comic that's out of character, but it really is out of character. And I don't know last issue that I felt like she was so stressed that she would be at that point. Do you feel like she was at a point of kind of snapping?
If it was like one good punch, I think I would have taken it a little bit better, but she beats her down.
Right.
And I was like, I don't think Huntress is just going to take that. Like a punch, sure, maybe, to kind of prove her status as what they were going for, but
Right.
after 3 punches or so, it's self-defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little out of character for both of them at that point, I felt. Though
Well,
I guess
definitely.
the new Huntress, I don't know, because I haven't read any of that.
Well, and this Huntress, we say the new Huntress. This isn't. I mean, this is Helena Wayne Huntress. There's actually another Huntress besides this Huntress.
I
So-
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll talk about that in a second. So when you say the new Huntress, you have to be careful now. This is Helena Wayne Huntress from Earth 2. But yeah, she's an odd person to add in there. What's the rationale for having it other than just to pay fan service to those of us who like this combination of people, right? Is that
Right.
that's what it's all about?
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Wait, if she's the Earth 2 Huntress, that would have been funny if they brought in Power Girl, because there's that weird dynamic between Barbara and Power Girl back then that would have been cool to pay a little tip of the hat to, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe
that's why she keeps saying in it that that she's invested in Gotham, but she's from a long, long ways away. That's why
Yeah.
she's making that kind of imply because she's from Gotham, but she's from a different Gotham.
I guess I just didn't catch that, because I guess I was thinking she's whoever the other Hunt. So there's 2 Huntresses running around simultaneously. Is there any difference in costume, or?
I don't know. And there's Jen. Hey, Jen, how's it going?
Hey guys. I had some problems, but
Okay,
I'm here now.
glad you're here.
Plus.
Glad you're here. We're talking Batgirl. Is there a
Okay.
Is there a difference in costume? I don't know that we've seen the newest Huntress, the actual Hela Bertinelli. I don't know that we've seen her in a full costume. She's in Grayson, and she's wearing the purple with the white, but you don't see her in the full thing. So I don't know.
Huh.
But she
Okay.
looks different. I mean, she looks, I don't know, mixed race, and she has curly black hair as opposed to long wavy black hair. So
Huh.
I don't know. So that'll be an interesting thing also. But yeah, I don't know. To me, her going ballistic on Huntress was a little out of character, even though they said in the book it's out of character.
Yeah.
This issue, I enjoyed it because I liked them together, but this issue really felt mostly about build up for obviously the next issue.
Well, the next couple, right? Because there's only...
2 more issues.
I was trying to... Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah.
No.
Before the run.
No, there's 1 more issue.
Only
Yeah,
one?
there's only one more.
Yeah, one
thought
more issue to this run.
I thought
one
it
more-
switched over in September, not August.
September is Future's End
Right.
stuff.
You got to remember, for DC, for everybody who doesn't know, for DC, all of their September books are the Future End 5-year jump thing that they do. Every September, you know, they do some sort of a thing, gimmick, whatever you want to call it. And this year, that's the thing. So that's a different number too. It would be like Batgirl and Future's End #1.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Great!
yes.
Can't wait for that.
3D covers too. Woohoo!
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna try to be positive, so hooray.
I'm being positive. I'm not purchasing any DC books that month. It's going to be awesome. I'll save my money for art or something else. There we go.
Travis, aren't you known as Mr. Marvel now?
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's what I've heard.
Oh, that would be a brilliant month for Image to launch a glut of #1s.
Yeah. Or anybody, really.
Yeah.
So, Jen, what did you think of Batgirl 33?
I liked it. It was pretty good, I guess. Huntress was interesting.
Did you like the Huntress Black Canary Batgirl combo all in one?
I don't know. It felt kind of forced to me.
Oh, that's very true.
Well, because there's no rationale really behind Huntress being there other than they've just felt like throwing her in.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. It was
There's
like,
literally they don't give her any motivation except like, hey guys, I wanna help, and then gets
Right.
punched in the
I
face.
know. It was like really
around.
weird.
Well, and then after she beats on her, then they just decide that they're going to accept her as being one of them.
Yeah, it was weird.
Hey, if she sticks around after that, that's a good show, you know.
Well, you're right, it is, or she's just playing a better game than them. I don't know. I don't know that I'd want.
She's really in with Nightfall. Bum, bum, bum.
All right, the whole purple colors and whatnot. Anyway, so let's talk the bigger picture. The bigger picture now. Of course, it's hit the news. Oh my gosh, the end of the Gail Simone run on Batgirl. Some people before they even looked into it were going, oh my God, they fired her again, which of course is not the case.
I had heard that. That's funny.
Yeah, well, yeah. Some people didn't even pay attention to the article. They just, went off on the whole on that whole thing. But that's not the case. Gail Simone supposedly already has other projects with DC lined up to be doing. She's finishing this out. She's telling what she wanted to tell at the end of this arc, and we're gonna get this new Batgirl. And of course, I'm assuming everybody's seen the pictures of this new Batgirl, a much younger, fresh-faced looking. Revamped costume, revamped storyline. Just about everything about her is revamped, other than it's Barbara Gordon. So what do we think about that? Those of us who collect it and those of us who don't collect it, are you interested now that they've changed her into? It seems like it's going to be a much lighter book. It's going to be they build it as being a fun book. You kind of one and done kind of stories with some sort of overreaching arc to it in some sense, but each issue being consumable on its own. Don't know whether that's successful or not. We'll find out. But
Well, before that, oh sorry.
I was just going to say, I didn't collect the individual issues. I did get the first trade. After hearing, much of what you guys talked about on the roundtable, I really liked the darkness, the everything Gail did with it. If this is supposed to be a progression, I don't know that I feel that that's what we're getting. I feel it's a revamp or a retcon.
I would say it is. I would say they're re-envisioning the character and making her into this other type of product, which I guess they could have went the Marvel route and renumbered it as #1 again and started from scratch, or taken a wholly new
Justified.
character, right? What's that?
It would have been justified here because
Yes.
this is so different. I
Right.
actually feel that would make sense.
It would. I actually think they should have. And this is one of those times when I really do thinking about it, that they should have. I mean, because I don't. I mean, at least for me anyway, my perception of it is they've changed her into this kind of more of a lighter, fresh-faced character to appeal to this fan base that we know is out there. I don't know if this is the right approach for it, but I think it's going to be to some degree. My 13-year-old daughter is absolutely thrilled and excited about the idea of this character and her being portrayed the way she is portrayed. And my 13-year-old, she read the Gail Simone run, and not that my teenager doesn't like having the emo stuff, because she does, but she also likes there to be some levity in it, and Batgirl really didn't have that. And this one sounds like it's going to have some of that in it. So she seems excited by it. For whatever that
was hilarious, but
yeah, well, you got a weird sense of humor.
Well, what hit me was when I first saw the picture and not the article, I thought someone took the Young Justice style of how they did Heroes and did like a Batgirl mock-up. And then I read the article, I'm like, oh, that's the comic, that's weird. And kind of what you guys were saying there was it's kind of to a different audience, which is what I find so interesting about it. I mean, I'm really glad they're doing it because it's for some people that we should want to bring into comics, but like I said in my video, I'm an old crotchety man now.
Right.
I'm not sure that this is going to appeal to me.
Yeah.
And
They sacrificed a book and a character that you were reading for this other audience. Really, is what they've done, right?
yeah, ish. I mean, I have to give it a one-issue shot to see if I even like it, because we're talking the tone, how it's going to be, but I haven't even seen, like a page. I don't know what the writing's going to be like at all.
Yeah, none of us do.
So it might be a little. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be lighter than what Gail Simone was doing, but that's nearly every DC comic, really, as well.
Right.
That Batgirl went dark.
What I think's fascinating is to me it feels like my first thought was well, why didn't they do this 4 years ago with Stephanie Brown, when she was Batgirl? Because that's that comic. That it was on the cusp of being what this comic is. They took it the next step, I think they went the full thing with it. Is the sales pitch for this new version, but it feels a lot more like the Stephanie Brown. I mean, she dealt with some serious stuff and whatnot, but she was always, at the same time, having fun. There was always this charmingness to the book that certainly isn't in the New 52, because no New 52 books have any levity in them at all, really.
And that's the problem with the New 52. Although
Well, there's Harley.
Well, yeah, right. Well, they are changing. Well, that's just that they are changing the tone of some of the books, finally. And I think that's a good thing, because I think the New 52 as a whole has been this kind of, not to get into that subject because that'd be a long one, but there's just this whole tone, the entire line is grim and gritty. I mean, even Superman looks pissed off all the time with his glowing red eyes. So, it's, I understand from the perspective of, oh man, we're losing this Batgirl to get this other Batgirl. I'm okay with that because I really like this latest arc we've been doing. I like the Wanted. The Wanted arc was really good. This one's been fine and whatnot too. But if I went back and looked at all my videos of all of my reviews of the Batgirl, I'd probably complain about the book more than I like the book, because there's lots. Because I guess I've still never gotten over the fact that for me, Barbara Gordon was at her best when she was Oracle, and this character has always felt less than Oracle is. So that's always been kind of my problem with the character. She always feels kind of whiny and needy and never able to completely get her shit together, and I always wanted her to do that. And it never feels like she ever... I'm just saying, for me, that was... So I'm not hurt. I'm not upset that Batgirl's changed this our thing.
You just said so much. Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I just thought of something else, though. To tie into another book, I don't know. But Bachernal and this one are so in line with when they're on Batgirl that if they drastically changed Barbara Gordon now, how is that going to affect her in?
Well,
Eternal?
right, because we've got 8, 12 issues of Eternal, and then suddenly we're gonna get this different Batgirl who she's not even living in Gotham anymore, right? I mean, she's not like living in the suburbs of Gotham. She's really going to school someplace else, going to graduate school or something. I think I'm not even sure she's in Gotham anymore. It'll be interesting. You're
Well,
right.
that's how they do it. They just
that is-
ship her off.
That is an interesting thought. How does that all mesh together?
Yeah.
I just wonder, could they have done 2? I mean, if there's going to be 2 Green Arrow books, couldn't they have done 2? I mean, there was Arrow and then there's Green Arrow.
Yeah, but Arrow is the TV show.
Arrow's a TV show,
But
right?
they also had the
Hero
comic
exists.
book of it.
Because I don't think, I mean, under that pretense, I don't think Wonder Woman last week in Scooby-Doo crossover was continuity Wonder Woman either.
All right.
You know, I mean, not to be a smartass, but just to
No,
but
no,
I think
yeah.
so. I think they've divided those two things. I mean, that is an interesting thought. Have 2 books. Why didn't they just put out? Well, why don't they just go the full route and put out a super, BBF book and make a out of continuity Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Batgirl based off that little cartoon short that they had in between the Cartoon Network shows, and everyone would love that.
Yeah.
Why
Maybe.
doesn't
Because the Anakami stuff didn't sell too well.
Yeah, it's true.
But I guess I always wondered when they actually made that Arrow comic, I couldn't imagine it sold hardly anything, so I just thought they could have split this and tried it, and it's a good trial, 8
Yeah.
issues, whatever they need to.
Well, yeah. I guess for me, also looking at it from a company business standpoint, I'm happy they're doing it because it shows they've decided that they need to branch out the style of books they're doing and venture into something else at least a little bit. I mean, I don't know if it's truly daring, but
It's
kind of
different.
surprising, really. And to take one of the Bat books and do it with is surprising too. Which means it might survive, because if they had created a brand new character and put them in this type of a book, it would never get traction because no one would pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But I'll be curious to see what Gail Simone's doing next. Whatever is the next thing that she's
well, she's doing Tomb Raider right now for Dark
right.
Horse.
But I
Your
think
phone
she
read
said she was going to get on a team book. So,
Really?
yeah,
What if
it was a while back.
So is she going to do Doom Patrol?
I have no idea.
What other team books are out there?
I
Birds of
don't know. I'm afraid to, like...
No, Birds of Prey is canceled.
They might reboot it.
She said that it's not Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, there you go. Justice League.
I don't see that.
Hmm.
'Cause I don't see John's leaving Justice League.
No.
You don't see Justice League getting good?
Yes, you're right. I don't. that's why I basically dropped it as soon as the Doom Patrol part's done. So, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be. So with Batgirl, I'm of 2 things. Unfortunately, we're not going to have this style of book with Batgirl, but I still think it's a positive that we're going to get this other Batgirl.
I guess it makes sense why they used her brother in the other comic, because it doesn't really matter. Gail's going to be off the book, and it's a different tone.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, let's move on to Batman Eternal. Unless somebody else has got something else they want to say about Batgirl.
Hmm.
No.
Okay. So Batman Eternal. Since now we're talking a little bit about Gordon Jr. He was in the last issue. He's technically not in this issue, but his influence is in this issue. And we had talked in the past about how or I'm pretty sure on here, if not here, I did on Twitter, was talking about the fact that it feels like introducing Gordon Jr. back in the Batman Eternal book threw away what could have been a great story in Batgirl, because that's where it had the most impact, was in Batgirl, her thinking she had killed her brother, and now suddenly he's just back. and Gordon doesn't seem to be that shocked over the fact that he's back. I don't know. It seems like kind of a waste of a story.
Well, especially because that's what drove Barbara and Gordon apart, you know.
Right.
Barbara and Gordon.
Well, him deciding that he didn't necessarily, Gordon's, trying to decide whether or not he's okay with, vigilante, superheroes, in a sense, not just Batgirl, but in general, kind of questioning the whole thing.
Yeah.
So in this issue, what do we think of it? What'd you think of it, Jen? Well, you read it too, Matt, right?
Oh yeah.
I thought it was good. I liked it. I like the whole penguin thing. That was my favorite part of the book. So
that penguin thing sold me on the idea of the penguin again, because for so long he's been like just the kind of a background piece, not really a villain. And I was like, oh my gosh, there he is, and he's ruthless for a pudgy midget man. That was.
Right. Which I thought was great because Falcone plays on that whole "you're not a real man." You don't stand up for yourself. You hire all these people. And there he is, basically having butchered a bunch of people. And of course, the other interesting thing here is up to this point they've kind of billed this new lieutenant, this Lieutenant Bard, as being basically the new Gordon, right? The new Commissioner Gordon, basically. And we get this kind of at the end of this issue, we get this kind of reveal that his moral gray line is a little farther over one direction than Commissioner Gordon's is, as far as what he's willing to allow to happen in the name of justice, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was a cool thing. And Batman's response was kind of interesting.
To be gone, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not playing along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was. I'm still liking the Batman Eternal book as a whole. It's a fun to read once a week. I'm kind of captivated with that whole weekly thing, I guess.
Oh, it's really working here where I don't think it's worked that well before.
Yeah, I'm curious because, so this is 3 issues of Tinian the Fourth writing. Now the storyline's going to shift, and I believe we're going to get more of the Ray Fox, I think, is the next person we're going to get more of. And of course he's dealing with the more mystic end of stuff, so we're gonna fall back into that whole Spectre and
I forgot about that, yeah.
Right, Spectre and Batwing. I think that little piece of story that we saw there is gonna resurface for 2 or 3 issues, because I think these guys are kind of writing them in like 3-issue blocks kind of a thing. And I think Dustin Wynn, the guy who did the cover of this one, I think is doing interior art on the next couple issues. So.
And they're going to have to sell me on why that's relevant with everything else, because that's the one piece that I just don't get. Like, I buy the Red Robin and Harper part, but the Mystic part, I'm just not seeing any connections.
Well, so is the connection going to be that there was some mysticism involved, and that's how Gordon got suckered into, shooting this box and causing all the chaos and getting all the people killed? Because if it was simply some sort of a sneaky mechanism or whatever, you'd think by now the world's greatest detective, Batman, would have found it, right?
Well, he's not the greatest detective anymore because Red Robin was picking up on the stuff he missed.
Whatever. Fucking Tim Drake. We started on Tim Drake.
So who is Spectre? I don't think I know who that is.
The Spectre.
He's
Jim
God's
Corrigan.
Wrath.
Yeah, he's the Wrath of God, basically. The character is dressed in a green robe, white skin. One of DC's mystic heroes that's been around for a very long time.
All right, I think I know. And it interacts with like Dr. Fate and some
right, and has been billed basically as being the Wrath of God, and he's been everything from as powerful as a god. There are issues way back in World's Finest Superman comics where literally as a reward to Superman, the Spectre creates a world and wants to give it to him. Literally, the equivalent of Earth, creates Earth and goes, here, I'm giving you your own planet as a reward for all the great stuff you've done. Just to give you an idea of the levels of power he's had. And clear down to being mystical, but not that kind of crazy god type. As a matter of fact, at one point, Hal Jordan was the Spectre.
All right, I do think it's between him, the Question, and the one that we just found out was Kane, or it, through the Trinity Wars. It was like Pandora, and it was all these
Phantom
people.
Stranger?
Question
Phantom
and Phantom
Stranger.
Stranger. Right. Okay.
Yeah. See, so I don't get into that much, and so
Right.
I've forgotten about the Spectre. All right.
Yeah. And he's only been in like he's in like 4 or 5 pages, and you never saw him as actually the Spectre. I don't think. Did we? Maybe
no,
we did.
not yet. No,
Yeah.
because they don't want to deal with
'cause
that
that's-
yet. I don't
Yeah,
know.
because that storyline got dropped, so that's supposed to be coming back up. I think that's what's going to resurface next and whatnot. So,
Okay. Thanks. Thank you.
I think that was the other part that was bugging me. You have this super powerful guy, and he's spending all this time doing all this detective work. I'm like, has basically the power of God. You think you just
right.
snap his
Go in,
face and get it
go in
done?
and start smoting people. Right. He just fly into Blackgate and start taking people out.
Yeah.
Except he doesn't just kill people. He has that whole dramatic ritual about how they die with how they with whatever their crimes were from their past. That's how they end up dying by those crimes or whatever. So depending on which version of the Spectre, and who knows the new 52, right? Anything else you want to say about Eternal? So what other DC books did we read? Go ahead, Jen.
Who got this?
Oh, I got that.
Oh yeah.
So in the comments, there's another Mike is in the comments, and he says, "Whoa, the roundtable is awesome. You guys should call the comic book roundtable XL."
Oh no.
Which of course is a reference to this book, and he laughs and says, "Sorry, I had to say it." Because okay, so talk to me about Suicide Squad. New number one. New number one. They rebooted it, right? They literally last month they canceled it, and this month it started right back up again.
Okay, this book has some of the worst dialogue I have ever read in a comic. It is the exposition is so forced. It literally made me laugh out loud.
It was bad.
Although the good news is Joker's daughter barely spoke, so I was okay with it. I put up with Black Manta's angst and the forced Deadshot Deathstroke rivalry that's going to be a thing in this comic. It wasn't horrible because I had no expectations for this. The art, I think, was what made me get through this.
Yeah.
For the most part, most of these people on this team I don't care about. I picked this up literally because I just finished Batman Arkham Origin, and Deathstroke was like at the end. There's the whole thing of he joins Suicide Squad and he doesn't have a choice. So I'm like, okay, Deathstroke's gonna be in this Suicide Squad. I might as well read it, and I guess I might pick up issue 2. I'm on the fence.
What'd you think, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. On the fence was probably the best way of putting it. I agree with you guys. Great art. I did enjoy the Suicide Squad when it first kicked out, and I thought Black Manta would be cool and see how he was, but I don't feel that any of them lived up to what they should have been as characters. I mean, I don't know that much about Black Manta. I was really getting interested to see what he was like. I saw him a little bit in Forever Evil, and I liked him there, but he just looked like he fell entirely flat for this.
Well, he's acting like how he did in Aquaman, the second story arc in Volume 2, where he's the main villain. And so they're writing him like that, not like how he was in Forever Evil.
All right, and I hadn't read the Aquaman second issue, so...
Yeah, you're fine.
And Deathstroke, I only know him from Kree 52 and Arrow. So I felt he was pretty not exciting for this. for as much as he's a fan favorite. I mean, I really felt for as much as people like Suicide Squad and some of these individual characters, putting them all together made for a really bland stew.
Did you pick up this book, Matt?
No, because what you
Good
guys are
call.
talking about is kind of what I
Good
envisioned.
call. Good call. Jen, anything you want to say about it?
No, not really. I mean, I
Here's-
agree.
here's-
There is
here's
some
my-
really.
My big positive about this whole thing is they finally gave Deadshot back his mustache. So thumbs up for that, because let me tell you, I hated Deadshot in the New 52 because they took his sexy stash away from him, so that sucked. But you're right, the dialogue is not very good in this. The Terminator.
It's really
Terminator,
dumb.
yeah.
There are dumb things. Like
Yeah.
the reasoning for putting
Oh.
Joker's daughter in this, and
This
I
guy
was
that's
like-
from the guy that's from the Treasury Department, that's now running.
what?
Yes, a guy from the Treasury Department is running the Suicide Squad. Is in charge of Amanda Waller, and he's just like, oh, basically, I want him to look really scary and sexy. That's what I want him to be. I don't care what they do. I just want him to look all woo.
It was literally like they wrote an executive from DC, and the author probably, I don't know if the author wanted to do this or not, or he was under contract or something, and then he just based that character off of like his boss or something.
I have to admit, I kind of read this thinking this is going to be awesome, because by the end of this book, Amanda Waller is going to shoot this SOB in the head and
See,
go
that's what I was hoping.
and go. I don't know what happened to him.
That's
you
what
know.
I had the same thought. Oh my god, that's funny.
But because he is so obnoxious in this.
He
Yeah.
is.
I mean, obviously, because of the way I get my comic books, I'm in for a couple issues just because I've pre-ordered a couple issues. But yeah, I mean, I was suspicious about the book anyway, because I just don't think that you can't put. I just don't see how you can put the Joker's daughter and Harley Quinn in a book together. I mean, I can, because I can see some really interesting stories. The fact is that she's walking around with Harley Quinn's ex-lover's face on her face. That there could be some pretty
Right.
serious, but they're never going to address that. Not really. And they kind of flirt with it a little bit here, but not really.
Right, yeah, right away. That
They're
made it
literally
bad.
tonally. I mean, they kind of say that in the book. Tonally, they're the same character, and the way they used Deathstroke in this, really tonally, he's the exact same as Deadshot. And in this and in that tone, I rather read Deadshot than read Deathstroke, to tell you the truth. I don't know how long Deathstroke's going to be in this book though, because obviously he's got his own book coming out soon,
Right.
and I can't imagine he's going to be in 2 books.
They probably put him in just to sell the book.
Could be.
Maybe.
I mean, Harley has her own book, and she's in this one.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
that's
don't know
sort
how
of
that-
not in continuity.
Right.
Well, and I expected that they should have had extra people and had at least a couple of them die off already.
Because that's how.
Suicide Squad.
Because that's how the old Suicide Squad was, right? You know,
Yeah.
every couple issues, somebody in the squad was getting whacked somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's almost like DC thought, you really expected a good book? No, we expect a good villain. That's what we need is a good
Yeah.
villain.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, not excited by that book at all. Art was okay, but beyond that, it was.
Yeah.
Unless they pull something out real special, but this first issue was sad. Yeah. Okay. Any other DC books we want to talk about?
Detective.
Detective. Okay, let's talk about Detective. Part 4 of the Icarus, right?
Yeah, I picked up the variant.
Variant?
Yeah, I actually really like this 75th anniversary variant.
It is cool.
Personally, and the current Punisher series suffers from the same thing. I don't think they can decide what tone they want the book. You got like a basic Batman story, and then occasionally you throw something really violent in there, like in the first issue of this arc where that woman comes running to Bruce Wayne's house.
Stop it.
And it's like they don't like the Punisher has the same problem in like the 8 issues that Punisher's been going. He's been tortured twice, and then they throw in random like things to tie it into other things, like Electro was in Punisher and stuff. And this comic feels pretty much the same. This issue, personally, nothing really happened, especially nothing detective-y, because in this arc we only had a splash page of kind of detective work, which me picking this up at issue 30 and like expecting detective comics, I'm not getting that. So
Okay.
it
Jen, what did you think, Jen?
I thought it was okay. It wasn't the best issue.
I've not been excited by the Manipool Bertolato team, really.
Yeah. Me neither.
I'm curious about the whole Bullock thing that's in this, though. You know, they
Yeah.
literally get in a fist fight by the end of this, and I didn't think that they were. I didn't feel like that they had been that kind of adversaries.
No,
I was wondering about that too. It felt really out of place.
I mean, because that hasn't how they've been in the New 52 up to this point. I mean, basically Bullock has worked. Well, heck, you look at we look at Batman Eternal, right? In Batman Eternal, he seems perfectly happy to have Batman helping them beat up the bad guys or whatever, right?
mhm.
But in this, he seems to have a personal beef with Batman.
Yeah,
I mean, I am kind of liking in this arc. I am kind of liking the few moments we've gotten that have been Bullock oriented. I mean, because I kind of like the Bullock character, you know. So seeing him at home and like I think it was the last issue, we saw him at home with his cats and that sort of stuff. I kind of like that, but I just don't understand why he's in direct conflict with Batman over this. I don't. Other than he thinks that Bruce Wayne is somehow associated with this, and of course, notoriously Bruce Wayne was financing Batman, right? I mean, so is that is that the beef? Is that where we get this tension that's been created?
Yes. What'd you think of him beating up that guy in the alley?
That doesn't surprise me. Bullock strikes me as being somebody who's gonna rough somebody up to get what he needs.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon is what keeps him in line from doing that kind of stupid stuff, I think. And there's no Commissioner Gordon right now, so
Yeah.
it's okay, but it's nothing special, I guess, for me. The art doesn't wow me so much that makes me think that it's awesome and it doesn't matter what the story is telling me. It's kind of pedestrian. Yeah.
It's nice to look at, but it's not amazing.
Yeah. Any other DC books? Maybe you pick up Grayson?
Yeah, I picked up Grayson's.
which Wednesday Serial, you need to go over and check out Wednesday Serial's latest video. You can get his take on the idea of Grayson. I don't know, right? It wasn't really about Grayson itself, right?
I haven't read it.
But just the idea of why would DC be selling us Grayson, and he's got some great thoughts on that. So I'm not going to address that. You guys go check out Wednesday Serial's channel. You can hear his views on it. I think they're pretty poignant views as far as why would we be getting this? You know, why couldn't it be something else or whatever? The book itself. What did you think of the book itself? Those that read it.
I liked it up until the very end, and then I was like, no, because somebody else knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and I'm like, really?
Yep.
Oh,
But
yeah.
other than that, it was a fun book. It's a fun book, but I'm like, why? What's the point of that? I don't know.
Well, that's, I guess, the point of that at the end of it is to then let us know just how dire it is that he's this mole that needs to find out whatever's going on so they can save the whole Bat family. But yeah, you know, I mean, I guess part of it is he's obviously working for a spy organization that are not good guys. So
Right.
I'm curious once this is solved, and I don't know how long that's going to take to solve this thing, what's next for him? I mean, is he going to stay super spy, or because he's not working for an organization to the best of my knowledge. I mean, I thought he was going to work for Argus or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. Have you ever heard of the Spiral before? Because
Nope.
I didn't know anything about them. Okay.
It's part of the Grant Morrison run from when Grant Morrison was writing Batman. So
Well, right. Right.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can see this, Matt. That lady right there, that's Helena Bertinelli, Huntress.
and he's topless. All right.
Oh yeah. So here you go. Upside down.
I take
Pull-ups.
back everything I said.
I don't know. I thought it was fun though. It was.
The art is
maybe we
awesome.
didn't-
I like the art, and of course, that was my first reason that made me decide I was gonna for sure pick it up, is because of course Mikkel Janin is doing the art on it. He was doing Justice League Dark. I loved that, so I knew I would jump on board for that. We get a brief thing with Midnighter in here. That was kind of weird, but cool.
Mhm.
I thought it was an okay book for what it is. I thought it was fun. I'm curious to see where it is. I'll collect it for a little while here.
What's the price on that?
It's a $2.99.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I miss
Hold the
Nightwing,
line.
I think.
What's that?
I miss Nightwing. That's my. I enjoyed at least the beginning of Nightwing until like the Court of the Owls happened.
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed that first arc, but then it got a little weird and stuff. But I enjoyed the character of Nightwing and Dick Grayson, so at least I get something with Dick Grayson. So.
Comparing this to Nightwing, I will say, hey, in this, he's not beat to hell on the cover, and at no point inside of it does he get the hell beat out of him. And in every issue of Nightwing, of the New 52, just about every issue, he's bloody to a pulp on the cover, and he's beat to hell inside of the book. So obviously, getting rid of the Nightwing costume has worked wonders for him as far as that goes. But yeah, who knows how long we won't have Nightwing before Nightwing will be back in some sense or another. But
Hopefully they'll come back with the blue.
there
the
you
red
go, instead of the red.
Maybe he'll come back with the with the collar.
Oh yeah, the collar and the
The frill.
that yellow thing looking like little feathers. The little
Yeah.
design in there.
Or what he looked like in Nightfall with like the mullet, and then like what he looked like.
Oh no.
Yes.
I just read Nightfall, so.
Yeah. Just bringing that sexy collar back, that would be enough. Man. Awesome. So any other DC books we want to talk about? We want to talk about any DC books from last week?
Did anybody else pick up Green Arrow?
Green
I
Arrow.
haven't
We can talk Green Arrow. That was from last week.
No.
Oh, Future's End. Let's
Oh.
talk Future's End.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm still really loving this book. I know that not a lot of people are reading it, but
I'm buying
I'm
it.
not
I haven't read it in a little bit.
I just want to know what's up with Superman though. Like something's wrong with Superman. He's wearing this mask and suit where he's all covered up.
Huh.
We can never see his face. So
Have they
something
confirmed he's not a robot yet?
we don't know. We don't know what's up with Superman, but his interaction with Lois Lane in this book was pretty interesting too. Like she was not too friendly with him. So
That's about normal, right? She's usually pretty mean.
I know, but she doesn't trust him, like
Oh, okay.
he's like maybe he's crazy now or something. So there's the stuff going on with Hawkman and Frankenstein that's pretty cool. And at the end of this, Emiko shows up and she finds Barda. So I'm excited for that.
Cool.
She's a grown up. She's like a older teenage girl or something in the book. So that should be fun.
I'm looking forward to
So
reading it. I'm just waiting for the trade to do it. So
Yeah. So Lisa Lemire gets to keep kind of writing her in this book for now anyway. Okay,
Cool.
go on, sorry.
no.
Well, that's great. No, I'm just I'm behind on that book, and I need to catch up. So
I keep hearing that it's the better written weekly book. So
wow, because I like them both so
Yeah.
far. So I
For
think
me-
they're the best things DC's putting out.
It was a little rocky for me in the beginning, but it's gotten pretty smooth since then.
The first few
So-
issues were
They-
such a slow burn.
yeah, they got away from
Mhm.
Grifter and it got better, huh?
Yeah, basically. Well, even now, even the story that he's in now is kind of interesting. But it's not a lot of him like dressed up and doing his grifter thing. It's different. So he's like on this. He's been kidnapped to an island. So yeah.
Everything's always better with less grifter.
It's kind of all of our opinions, I think. But,
There's
So-
one Wildcats run where he was good, but
yeah.
otherwise.
Oh, but he's been awful in the New 52, though. Awful.
I didn't even bother to find them.
Oh, I bought those first because I bought all of the kind of fringe books.
I got the
New
first
52
three, yeah.
Oh, ooh.
See, I didn't
Wow.
get that. So
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. So, Green Arrow. Let's talk Green Arrow. That came out last week, but of course, I
Okay.
think most
Oh.
of us read Green Arrow.
Yeah, yep. I don't have mine out, but yeah, I've really been enjoying Green Arrow with Lemire and Sorrentino. Just the artwork alone on his idea on how he makes a panel, I just think is amazing.
yeah.
The art in Green Arrow has been so over the top. The design, what they're doing with it as a comic in there is just so amazing. And it's cool because it's paralleling Hawkeye, so they have this they had this thing going on for a while when those two were coming out.
Yeah.
So long as Green Arrow doesn't get shot in the head, I'll be happy. So
Well, there was that one
Yeah.
month where they're both shot in the head.
yeah,
Right. Right. That's pretty funny.
Green Arrow moved past it. Hawkeye, I guess, just
yeah.
game over.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
So, in Green Arrow, of course, this latest issue, he's back in Seattle. We're having him go up against people that are basically, relatively close to being super criminals. His sisters come back and is establishing herself as the new Green Arrow. There's some cute moments in there where he kind of chews her out that he's the only person that wears a hood.
I did get a little worried that Red Dart was a little too close to Red Mist from Kick-Ass.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe. I'm really enjoying the comic. Looking forward to seeing how the rest of this pans out. Of course, we know come October, this book is going to fundamentally change, or at least I see it as fundamentally changing.
Yeah.
Because we're losing the creators that are on the book right now, which is really unfortunate. Because we all love, if nothing else, we all love Sorrentino's art. And we haven't heard what he's going to be on next. My understanding is from hearing him on Twitter, they're announcing whatever he's on next at like San Diego Comic-Con or whatever. So at least we'll find out what that is. And more than likely, whatever that book is, unless it's My Little Pony, and even if it's My Little Pony, quite honest, whatever he's on, I'm probably picking up the first couple issues of just to see.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I think about it, him doing My Little Pony might be pretty awesome. But so the other part is we've got one of the writers and one of the producers from the Arrow TV show will be taking over the book as the writers on the book, and some I can't remember who it is that's doing the art. Anybody remember who it is?
The person who was, I thought, recently doing either Batgirl or Batwoman. But it's one of those two. I thought it was somebody.
McCarthy was doing Batwoman, and he's going to be on the Witch Boy, the Clarion Witch Boy comic. Whoever it is that's going to be on the Green Arrow, to me, just looks like a standard in-house kind of superhero generic artist. Nothing extraordinary, but not horrible either.
Well, if it's the Batgirl artist, that stands to reason, because, I mean, obviously they're not
Right.
going to be Batgirl anymore, and I think they do a good job, but...
Yeah. But the more important thing isn't the art for me so much as they basically flat out said, we're going to bring the stuff that works from the Arrow TV show, and we're going to put it in the comic book. So
I'm really looking forward to this because I'm going to cancel my Green Arrow subscription. I'm going to start getting the Grell Run, book month to month, and I'll be able to catch up on the good stuff.
there you go. There you go.
I'm liking
there's
the
some-
Arrow TV show, so I'm going to give it a try.
and this is me being a cranky old asshole, I guess. I will be dropping the book sheerly out of principle, if nothing else, because there are two things about other mediums and comic books that I never want to see happen. One is digital comics changing the way panels are laid out in a physical comic book. Big fear of that. My other fear is we get all these TV shows and movies that my comic books will actually become what those shows are instead of them being their own things. And this book is going to be a direct result of the TV show and the fact that either the writers and the creators don't want to do the book anymore and they got no other ideas, so they're just going to let the TV show take over the book. They're even going to introduce Felicity Smoke into the book. And I see no reason to put her in the damn book. There's already a woman who basically fills her role in the book, who obviously is in love with Oliver. There's all that exact same tension and everything there. So they're going to get rid of her, I'm assuming, to put this Felicity Smoke in. It's crap. There's no reason to do that. I think the Arrow TV show is fun for being the TV show that it is, but a comic book can be so much more than a TV show can be. And to make the comic book, in my opinion, less for the TV show is kind of bullshit. But
I don't see the point.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about it, but I'm not.
To touch on the art and what you discussed about how they lay out the panels, I originally was picking up Green Arrow on my iPad. I love Sorrentino's art so much, I went back, rebought the whole beginning of the arc with Sorrentino because of how beautiful his pages are. So, just to touch on that part. But I guess I like the show enough that I'm willing to see how they transition.
Well, and you aren't the only one. There are plenty of people who are excited about the two mixing together because they like both.
Yeah.
What were we going to say, Jen?
I just don't think it's going to raise sales, or at least people who watch the show, I don't think they're going to run out and buy it. They didn't buy the Arrow comic,
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
In the comments, Carlos is telling us that Felicity Smoke is actually an obscure character from the 80s Firestorm comic. I don't remember that. I collected the 80s Firestorm comic, but that doesn't mean that isn't the case. But that's one of the fun things about the TV show is they do kind of, snag names here and there and throw them in. Half the characters in it are either comic book characters or their creators' names.
Right.
So, that's fun. I think that's all fun Easter egg things about the TV show. The TV show, which should not be in my comics.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I'm surprised how many villains, too, that they've used from the TV show, or how many they've stolen from Batman alone, that were Batman people that Green Arrow is fighting. Even now, with Killer Moth, I thought that was crazy.
Yeah. And Firefly and.
Yeah.
So I'm not excited by that at all. What were you gonna say, Matt? You were gonna say something about it?
Well, I wanted to say something about the digital art point that you brought up, which I find hilarious because you're talking about the layouts of the modern stuff changing. But I find modern, they try to do a lot more double spreads or like these bigger panels or try to do it so it like pops digitally. It's hard to read on a digital single frame thing because you have to like zoom out or do something. Mm-hmm. It's a lot easier to go back and read an old Jack Kirby comic, which is just, page by page, panel by panel, and enjoy it because you can actually get the screen and pop it up because it has to be smaller ratio for the screen because it's a completely different frame ratio.
But wouldn't you agree the amount of panels on a page does in some cases creates a pace of how that page reads, right?
Oh, of course.
But if you're reading it digitally, you're reading it panel by panel, so that pacing is completely taken away.
You can read it panel by panel, and yeah, that pace is taken away. The other thing you can do is just look at the entire page, which is how I try to read it. And that's why older comics read better on digital, because they have a page, but if you need to zoom in, so you can take like 2 panels, and then 2 panels, and 2 panels, if you're looking at like a standard grid page, you still have that pace, you're just scrolling with it, so you're able to read it, because digital display is funny. So...
With digital, I gotta say the one thing I do like is my eye never wanders over to the little thing here that's revealing. It's like, oh, and he dies here, but I'm still reading here, and I'm going, and oh, I already knew he died. So.
No, that's good. That's actually bad page layout on them for the print, because they should know how to do that. That was actually really funny in Hush, because someone was showing me their Hush edition, and they had a fairly big, funny one, and that really big reveal of it's the Riddler is supposed to be behind, but because there isn't an ad to chop up how they did the pages, you just open it, and it's like this page of dialogue on the left, and then the Riddler on the right, and you couldn't help but, like, it just...
See that big page. Right. Yeah. So we're kind of torn. I know, like I said, Mike, I know there's other people who are excited, who like the show, like the comic, and are excited for that mix between the two, or gung-ho to be checking it out and whatnot. Like I said, just me being old cranky person, and I'm poo-pooing it now.
And I think about how when we see the movie, they make X-Men, Days of Future Past. We're like, why'd they change this? Why'd they change that? Just keep it. They already wrote the comic, and that's why I'm going to give it a chance. I'm hoping enough of the story is out there. I like the TV show. If everything is good, I'm okay with them porting some of it over. But yeah, I don't need to watch a TV show, read the comic, and have it be the same thing.
I mean, the one thing that I did like about their article I read that was talking about it is they did say that they were going to bring back more of Ollie's fight for social injustice, and that kind of, which has always been one of my favorite things about the original Ollie, was him kind of being, somewhat on the left, kind of, the little guy fighting against the man and all that,
You're adjectives tonight, man. Someone on the left.
I was being generous. Yes, he's a lefty, no doubt about it. But they're going to bring more of that back, and so I think that's a good thing, because right now Oliver is a superhero who really doesn't have a reason to be a superhero other than he feels like being one, right? And he's got people in his face screwing with him, and that's why he's a superhero. He's not a superhero because right now it doesn't feel like he's a superhero because he's trying to actually, honest to God, make a difference or screw the man or whatever. None of that stuff.
Well, Travis actually just sold me on it.
I was actually hoping that they would touch on a little bit more of the Outsiders and the Token Arrow before they kick into this new guy. I mean, wrap it up, destroy the totems, do something, or I guess it'd be fine if Lemire can come back, 5 years from now and finish this idea, but otherwise I feel...
That's just going to fall by the wayside. I'll bet you money.
That would hurt me the most.
Maybe they'll incorporate it. You never know.
Yeah, it's such a good story. That's the part that I miss.
Well, what I think's going to hurt about them leaving this behind is not only did Lemire set up all this cool stuff with Arrow, and this has been a really cool run, but the amount of world building around Green Arrow, like, it really feels like Green Arrow has like this chunk of the DC universe carved out for him finally, and he's not some like bat reject sort of thing going on.
Yeah.
And so like you have this whole Outsiders thing, these different totems, and it makes it kind of a weird martial arts book, which is a cool way to spin the whole Archer thing. And it's less Robin Hood, and it's a little more
its own thing
elsewhere. Yeah.
5 weapons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it even does they even do a good job of incorporating Katana in it.
Yes.
She makes more sense in the DC universe now, also with her being, she's one of the sword. She's the sword. I mean, I don't know. She just fit naturally into that too. It's like, oh, okay,
her husband's the sword, but yeah.
Right.
And they're going to bring her in the TV series 3rd season.
That's what I hear.
Oh, cool.
That's what I hear.
Can't wait for that to be on Netflix a few years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but so yeah, there are little things about it that might be good. Oh, and then if he suddenly shows up with a full goatee back again and whatnot, I'll probably be picking the book back up if he gets the facial hair back. Not that I'm hung up on facial hair or anything, but whatever.
Next Saturday, we're going to see you all blonde. Is that it?
No, that won't happen.
Come on.
No. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm still not happy with the idea. The second they said we're going to take the stuff from the Arrow TV show that works and put it in the comic book, I'm still pissed they put Diggle in the damn comic book because there's no reason for him to exist in the comic book.
That's true.
I would have been, but it's been so awesome.
Yeah, and then like I said, and then them saying they're going to move Felicity Smoke, and she doesn't make sense. She doesn't make sense. There's already a character that is exactly her, basically.
Yeah, they've worked on Naomi and Fit so well. I mean, those are really two great accessory characters.
Yeah. So.
What if there's just a huge cat fight and they just pull it in one big blowout issue? No.
No. Any other DC books or DC information? I got something else I'll talk about DC-wise. Anything else anybody else wants to talk about?
Was there Wonder Woman this week or last week?
I don't even think it was last week.
That's the third. That's the last one of this trend with the switchover too.
No.
Now, has Wonder Woman been part of Doomed, that whole Superman arc?
No, it's its own thing.
Oh, she's
Only Superman Wonder Woman is, but not the main Wonder Woman title.
Okay. Glad something isn't.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about the Wonder Woman book is that it's maintained its own integrity and has not been influenced by anything else in the DC universe. So,
well, that's all gonna change.
We've got one more issue.
Is it? I thought it was due again. That month. Ah, dang it.
Yeah.
I'm
No.
or some because.
So that's gonna be I think we've talked about the Wonder Woman thing before, and that's gonna be a disaster. Or I know I've at least talked about it on my own videos that that's going to be a disaster. So
I finally found out who was writing it. That was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't even read Wonder Woman. That's weird.
Well, it's all about David Finch. I mean, that's really what it's about, and I'm sure he's writing it to some degree because he's written books before. When DC brought him over, he was doing the Batman Dark Knight. And
yeah, that's right.
I think the wife's going to help with the dialogue and that sort of stuff. But I'm sure him doing layouts is what's telling most of the story. Is instinctually is my guess anyway. But it's just a disaster all the way around. So.
Along with that, we were talking about who's writing. The one thing I also noticed on the Green Arrow is they really almost seem to incorporate Sorrentino as like part of the writer.
Well, yeah, honestly, in my opinion, there's a lot of artists out there right now who truly are storytellers into themselves. They are telling a large chunk of the story is done by the artist. Some artists definitely work. You give me a full script, you give me all the details. I'm just going to churn out what you tell me you want there. And some artists, it's more. This is the basics of what we need to have happen, and then they're the ones that are getting you from point A to point B, And so I'm okay with a lot of these books where they, like the Detective Comics is another one. If you look at the credits are storytelling by Bruccioletto and Manipool. It doesn't say one's an artist and one's a writer, and then then there's the letterer and the colorer or whatever, whoever else is credited. But they're just credited as storytellers, and I think that's that's okay. I mean,
well, that's what's supposed to separate a good comic artist from like a good figure artist is their storytelling in their art.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I still think there's some good comic book artists out there who really follow the script. They are basically just putting what's there as opposed to adding to the script. But you're right. That probably is a defined between the art. You're right, between the artist and someone who's producing stock, I guess. Yeah. So the only other thing I want to just kind of mention offhandedly, because I like, poking at hornet's nests of things that I think are going to go bad. So Constantine, the TV show. I've heard now that after the pilot, they're getting rid of the female lead that's in the show. They've decided to get rid of this character, and they're going to bring in a new female lead named Zed, who is a significant person in John Constantine's life in the Hellblazer comics. For whatever reason, they decided they needed a different they needed a different female lead that acted in a different way, and their answer to doing that, instead of rewriting the pilot or whatever, is they're junking that character and putting somebody else in, which I thought was kind of interesting. That they're moving close. It was described as them moving closer back to the comic book source material, because that was one of the things about the TV show that had moved well away from the comic book material, was because this girl was going to kind of be the long-term sidekick, maybe romantic interest in some sense or another, or whatever kind of a deal, and they're going to move away from that maybe. So I thought it was interesting.
So they figured the Doctor Who sidekick has been done before, and
yeah, I don't know that she was going to fill that role exactly, but yeah, it's, something along the lines. Hard not to, anytime anybody says that kind of a role, they're not the companion kind of thing from the Doctor Who stuff. Yeah, but yeah, that was interesting. I'm still eagerly waiting to watch that, but now I'm even more worried that, or maybe they're fixing the problems. I don't know.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Going back toward the book would be a good thing for me, I guess.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's some things about it that I think are fundamentally weird. The fact that he, in the TV show, he put himself in Ravenscar, as opposed to, and he's willfully getting the treatments that he's getting.
He seemed like, I thought he seemed like just like an exorcist or something, and I'm hoping that's not the route they go. Right.
Whereas, of course, in the book, he is committed because he's absolutely Looney Tunes after Newcastle, and they torture him while he's in there. I mean, the people that are in there are horrible, sadistic people who basically mess with him even worse. I mean, he comes out of Ravenscar, he comes out of the nut house probably more damaged than he was before he went in the nut house. So, and they've obviously changed that whole part of it. So, but whatever. Anyway, we done talking DC? Anything else? Anybody itching to talk DC? No? Let's move on to Marvel.
No.
Let's talk some Marvel books. Matt, what'd you get Marvel-wise? Deadpool come out or anything like that?
I got some Spider-Man, so I don't know which one of the three you want to. All right.
Let's talk Spider-Man 99.
Oh, well, he threw up
oh, okay. No, that's cool. That's
the 100th anniversary thing. What do you think of that?
I not collecting Spider-Man. I read Superior Spider-Man, so I said pick it up. It's #1, and then I look in. It's 8 of 8.
That was just a coy little.
Yeah. There's all these different things. I'm like, so was there more storyline? 100th anniversary, #1. I was all over. I understand that they do these kind of things, so I read it, just enjoyed it. I thought the story was just fine coming into it. The artwork I thought was just amazing. I liked that. And the ending might have been the only thing that I twisted my head about. I wasn't, and I'm not 100% sure how I feel or what I think of it.
It's fair. What kind of got me is I have to spoil this to talk about it because it was interesting to look at, but it was pretty thin. And it starts off right at the end. So it's part 8 of 8 of 7 comics that don't exist apparently.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's the idea is that the Kingpin has transmuted the Venom to have technology properties, so he can. It really just comes down to him exploding an entire city block of cars because they're all jacked into the grid in the future. I guess that made no sense to me. Like, cars aren't connected to anything, and so it like an entire street blows up, and then Spider-Man just runs. He doesn't have his spider powers. He just runs for the woods, starts some fire, and then beats down this Kingpin Venom thing with a flaming stick. Then at the end, he's like talking about honoring Aunt May and like mending his Spider-Man costume. And I was like, it's kind of interesting, kind of gets the heart of the character a little bit, I guess. But this was, it was kind of fun to read. But for $4, I felt a little gypped.
Yeah. It was a what if, what the. It definitely, because it was, you started out, Eddie Brock's dead, Spidey doesn't have powers, he's like, the two of you had this techno-venom that you should have done something with, and I invented it, and all these smart cars and smart TVs, I'm hooked into everything, the Kingpin's like nearly omnipotent when he wears it, and then, yeah, at the end, so he, all of a sudden, there's no Mary Jane, no Aunt May, I guess, and then he just starts sewing a Spider-Man costume. So yeah. I totally had no idea where this was coming from, where it was going, how it tied in anything if it did.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know, I think the idea was like 100 years from now, or I don't know, it just seemed like so random, and I don't know, it was kind of fun, but unless you can find in like a dollar bin or something, I wouldn't pick it up.
One more person for the Spider-Verse. That's what this was.
There you go.
Oh yeah, they're doing that.
I'm looking forward to that. Just to get more Spider-Pig. It's gonna be great.
More Spock. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, but I mean, I love the artwork. The artwork was done by In Hugh Lee, so I thought that was good. And it's almost watercolor-like. It's basically what you saw on the cover too. That was what it is.
Yeah.
So. Did anyone else pick up 2099? No.
No, it was either that or New Suicide Squad.
Oh, you missed.
I went with quantity over quality, I guess.
Well, so I really like this, and this is like new age Peter David, because I feel like the old stuff from like mostly the 90s he did, and like after he came back kind of has a slightly different tone. And this is really cool. There's this really awesome part where Liz Allen's looking at the 2099 Spider-Man and is like, "You're not Spider-Man. You were with Spider-Man once, but you're not Spider-Man. You sound older and you don't tell jokes." And he's like, a rabbi and a nun walk into a bar. You think they would have seen it coming. Now get in the corner. And it was just like, really am digging this book, but my problem is like it feels like a B book and it's $3.99. I'm like, I want to read it, but do I like get a Marvel subscription through the mail or like get a trade or something? Because I don't feel like I can put $4 every month into this. It's good, but it's not that good, if that makes sense. But no, it's a really good issue. I'm cheap.
That's fair. They're going to put that extra price tag on there, you know?
Yeah. And then ASM, back to when nobody else is picking that up. Jeez. You know, Spider-Man's supposed to be the second most popular superhero.
That doesn't mean anybody reads the books.
Oh, God. Yeah, this is part of the learning to crawl, so they're going back to the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko era and playing with that, except in a modern day age, so there's all this like current technology and times, and they have the internet. And
so they're retelling the stories that we've already been told.
it's not retelling the stories. It, like, takes place in between them, which makes zero sense if you put any thought into it. But like, you'll see, like, they talk about him fighting the Vulture in here, but he doesn't actually. And then it's mostly focusing around this weird new villain that Dan Slott's setting up. That's like this technologically based villain, and that started off as a huge fan of Spider-Man, but now is angry at him because Spider-Man beat him up. And I don't know. I like the main stuff, but this learning to crawl is kind of forgettable, I guess.
The villain you're talking about, is that because I read because Amazing Spider-Man issue 1 was really a glorified previews issue.
Oh yeah.
And when they opened up that Point series that you're talking about, are they talking about the kid that got the autograph?
Yes, they are.
Oh. Now
yeah, they're really setting him up to be this big thing, and I feel like it's going to be like many years ago they did this Spider-Man Chapter 1 thing, not Year 1 because that would be, but Chapter 1, where they retold the first like 12 issues of Spider-Man and set up this other villain in the meantime and tried to make Dr. Octopus a bigger deal and do all this, and it really mattered to the Spider-Man relaunch #1 of that day, and a year later it was all forgotten and didn't matter, and I think we're seeing the same thing again.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So basically, Batman Year 2 business with that villain.
Batman Year 2? Oh no, it's not like the Reaper. Man, Year 2 is my favorite Batman story, so I might be incredibly biased.
Okay, we got any other Marvel books you want to talk about?
Oh, I do. I got Amazing X-Men #9 here.
Nice.
Okay, I got that one.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
So how's Amazing X-Men?
It's going back up. Issue 7 was trash. Like, they literally, because Jason Aaron left at issue 6, and they didn't have the current team, so they threw in a filler team, and they threw Spider-Man in there because he was topical that month, and it was trash. But this arc, because everything's basically, everything is building up to Wolverine's death, pretty much. I don't read Wolverine,
right,
but this issue was intense. It didn't feel like an X-Men issue. I don't know how to explain it. It was good, though.
Well, I can't stand this whole Wendigo business, so I'll be glad when it's over, and hopefully I'll enjoy it after that. But I'll be glad when Wolverine's gone.
When you say Wendigo business, as in there are Wendigos in it, or Wendigo as in like from Alpha Flight Wendigo?
As in...
Well, there's a ton of Wendigos. It's in Canada. It's in Canada.
Okay.
Puck's in this, so part of Alpha Flight's been in it.
Well, I just wondered if we were talking Wendigo, the superhero from Alpha Flight, or if we were talking Wendigos as... Okay.
It's people who... Apparently, there's some magic curse on Canada where if you eat human flesh, you become a Wendigo, or something like that.
That's
they
pretty
tell you that at
old.
the border.
Yeah, as you're crossing over. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that whole... I mean, not necessarily in Canada, but that's a pretty old mythos. That goes way back. That's...
Yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
I mean, I can buy Iceman, but not Wendigos. I don't know why. It doesn't work for me.
You don't watch that Hunting Bigfoot show then, Jen?
Fair enough. No, Bigfoot isn't Wendigo. That's different.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Apparently, these things are like as strong as the Hulk, but more fierce or something. I don't know. And there's like a ton of them. Like,
nice.
It's just...
Because Canadians eat a lot of human flesh. Is that what they're implying? Wow.
But
That's a statement from Marvel.
Apparently, if you get bit or scratched by one, you also turn into one.
Oh, okay.
But they're building it up like this has never happened before. Like, literally, Canada got overrun with them, and now they're heading into America.
Oh.
Like,
so now it matters.
Funny.
Okay.
That was funny when they're like, okay, these Wendigos stop at the border. They're not crossing. That was pretty funny.
That's funny.
Thor and Captain America are there.
Yeah, like Captain
That's
America,
hilarious.
like standing on the side, like he wouldn't go over and fight the Wendigos or something. Like,
Can't keep them from cross. From bringing prime British Columbia marijuana over the border, but sure as hell we're gonna stop all these Wendigos from coming over the border. Awesome.
I really want to talk about the end of this because it was just weird and out
Cool.
there.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So
Anybody who watches this show has to know we spoil whatever we feel like spoiling. So.
okay. So at the end of this, Wolverine turns into a Wendigo.
yeah.
Is that how he dies?
What's her face? Who was doing that?
Yeah, he killed the magician girl. I mean, the magic girl. What's her name? I don't remember.
Just straight up impaled.
Talisman. Talisman's her name. Yeah. She was trying to do like a reversal spell on all the Wendigo people, and Wolverine turned into one of
Guts her, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But he's a special Wendigo. He's got the claws.
Yeah, he still has the adamantium claws.
Of course.
Why would you need to use the adamantium claws if you're like strong as the Hulk? I don't know.
But that begs the question: since he has no healing factor, and this whole time in all the X books he has those strap-on claws that he's been using, is he just gonna bleed out his hands because he doesn't have the healing anymore, or did the Wendigo give him healing?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's used them before, and it does hurt him a lot. I don't know.
Well, in Nightcrawler issue 1, he and Nightcrawler really pisses him off, for lack of a better term, and he pops the claws, and he gets seriously injured. Like a medic comes in and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. Do you read Nightcrawler too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so do I. So
Let's try that then.
I'm gonna trash this book too. So okay. No.
You didn't like Nightcrawler either?
It was okay. I'm not really loving the book right now, but I think it's just the storyline too. The ending was cool. I liked the ending.
Is it Claremont, right? Claremont's writing this,
Yeah.
right? Is he just like lost in the past?
Not so much.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the beginning of the run was I was having fun with the first couple of issues.
Well, the Jean Grey School Stunners gets attacked, like in every X-Men book.
Right.
This time it's Nightcrawler's fault because this robot that morphs into other robots.
Yeah, the Trimega or something like that.
Transformers. Okay.
And it's built up. My only problem with this issue is this Trimega thing beats Nightcrawler up for the past 3 issues. Like, he's been fighting this thing. It split into 3 last issue, and then at the very end of the last issue, it split into a whole army, and they attacked the Jean Grey School. But in this, like, Wolverine tears one apart. They're all just destroying them. So basically, it's like they're battle droids, and they just get torn apart like butter. And the ending of this was really, like, it tugged on the heartstrings and made me really sad. And it's going to, hopefully, if this is done right, it will affect Nightcrawler permanently.
That's what I want. So, I mean, the ending saved it for me, but it was kind of meh for me other than that. And the other thing, the magic stuff where she turned Storm into, and Beast into photographs and stuff, I didn't really care for that. Maybe I'm just anti-magic today. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I like the whole thing that when he and his girlfriend went into the afterlife, he's banned from it.
Yeah, that was cool.
His arms started to melt when he was trying to force himself through. So it's good to see that they're keeping the canon of Amazing X-Men.
Right.
Which is which with Marvel lately and their whole timing things wrong, it was a stunner that it was done right.
Cool.
So, yeah. That was a good.
The only Marvel book I picked up this week was The Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
Are they canceling that, or is it still?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think it's still going. So buy this. It's really good. You should read it.
Another hilarious issue. I mean, I think it's back on where it was. We had a few issues where we had some fill-in people and some kind of fill-in stories that made us all wonder what the hell was happening as far as the quality of the book and stuff. But it's just hilarious. It's just so ridiculous. I mean, these guys are such losers and such idiots. And I mean, even when they got the plan going right, the plan's not going right and whatnot. It's a comedy of errors. You know, it's just hilarious. I don't know.
I'm loving Shocker and the mob boss head.
Silvermane's head, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to talk about really in particular, other than it's just funny. I mean, you have to read it for the gags that are in it and stuff. It's just a funny book.
It's fun. I love it. I hope that he keeps writing it. No more fill-ins because.
Yeah, those were scary.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
Well, and it's good that it didn't have to rest on Spider-Man, Dr. Ock. That it was able just to keep its own and.
Because it has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they just happen to be the D-lister, some of the D-lister villains from the Spider-Man gallery, and it having nothing to do with that. I kind of wonder what was going to happen if they'd changed the name or whatever, but it obviously doesn't matter because they're such a joke. I mean, they're the Sinister Six, and there's never been more than 5 of them in the Sinister Six, which they think is extra spooky because then people just don't know who that 6th person is. And sometimes they're down, and sometimes they're clear down to the Sinister 3. I mean, they're just
they have the Sinister 16, so.
Yes, the Sinister 16. Yes, but they're such idiots. They're just amazing. They keep hatching these ridiculous plans and find themselves in incredibly uncomfortable situations that are just funny how awkward they are and whatnot. And, it almost seems like Boomerang has got his act together right now. All the pieces are working for him right this moment. So it's just going to all come completely apart in the next issue. It has to, because it just never goes very long before things go, to hell in a handbasket. So, but funny stuff. Any other Marvel books we want to talk about?
Undercover Avengers.
Okay.
This one was about Nico and her dead boyfriend that they bring back from the Runaway series. He was killed within the first couple issues of the Runaways, and it was all about her developing her power, how she handles really dark magic that she got right during the Avengers Arena. And it was... it's still more about the interaction between all the undercover Avengers. Not all of them knew that they were supposed to be undercover, so Chase gets injured, and they're trying to figure out how to deal with that. They're trying to see if Nico can heal him just with her magic. And then one of the big reveals at the end, so just spoilers, everybody. I'm sure nobody but me is reading it, but Arcade is still alive, and that's what Baron Zemo and his crew used to tie all these people together and make them think they had no option because everybody believes they killed Arcade, and they did it live, so they're all technically criminals. They killed somebody, whether justified or not. So Zemo says, "No, he's dead. You guys are criminals. You might as well join up with my group." So that's the whole gist of the book.
And this is the book that's kind of like it took the what was the last book that was out before this?
It was the Avengers Arena.
Avengers Arena, right? I mean, that's basically mostly like the same characters. You're right. Okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's everybody from that, and I mean, it originally started as people from the Runaways, Avengers Academy, all those teen books.
Right.
Threw them all together with a couple new characters. Avengers Arena. Now Dennis Hopeless is writing the Avengers Undercover. So
Recover.
yeah, and I like it. I mean, they've continued with, they've let him write, what he wants, and it looks like, I think the artist Walker is leaving, if I remember correctly, and so there'll be a new artist here, I think the next issue.
Cool.
But I've been happy with it. I like it.
I kind of want to check it out now, but I feel like I'd have to read Avengers Arena first.
Yeah, and I would say it pretty much does. It does make you, you could jump into it and you could guess that a lot because they do go back and say, you didn't have to do this. They might show a flashback of what happened in the previous book, and then they carry through. So they keep developing each character along the way. So this episode was all about Nico. Next one might be somebody else, or they may use it to combine 3 characters to get the story going again.
Cool.
That's it for me on that one.
What else you got, Jeremy?
I got one from last week, Punisher #8. This series, I swear, I love it and I hate it at the same time. Edmondson, he's also writing Black Widow right now, which I've been enjoying the one-off Black Widow issues. But this, he's trying to do a big story. But the thing was, the first arc ended, but it didn't end. Basically, Punisher went up against Electro. He got tortured by Electro. He was like going against this cartel that was working with Electro. And then he shoots Electro in the face with a rubber bullet, and it doesn't kill Electro. And then he like beats the crap out of him. And then he gets chased by like this task force, gets shot, manages to get down to Mexico because he's in LA. He gets blown up, and then this cartel pays off the surgeon, so he gets captured by another cartel. They torture him again. This is what I mean by they can't decide the tone of the book. He finds there's a Marine task force that was in Mexico doing some recon or something. He finds one of the they captured one of our troops. The 2 of them conspire and they escape into the woods, and they're being chased by Crossbones of all people. Yeah, and Crossbones just gets thrown in there. And this issue picks up. They find another one of the American soldiers. He's horribly injured, and they're dragging his ass through the jungle. And it's told from the Marine that's working with Frank. And basically, they kill almost everyone except Crossbones. And Punisher makes a deal that if you let the Marines go, you can take me as your prisoner, essentially. And Crossbones was like, sure, I don't care. I'm only getting paid for you. And Punisher, and then the guy that's working with Crossbones gets all pissed and bent out of shape. And Punisher literally pulls out a knife that was thrown on his shoulder and slashes the guy's throat. And then that it ends with the Marine wearing going back. He does another tour in Afghanistan, and he has a Punisher patch on his arm. So, if they ever follow up on that, are we going to have like a Punisher team book? The thing I like about this book is, well, it's a different Punisher take. I read a little bit of the Rucka run, but my favorite run still is the Garth Ennis Max run, because it had little to do with the superhero verse. I mean, Nick Fury was in it like twice,
right?
I think. But this, it's just a different Punisher. He doesn't have the Punisher shirt. He wears a Punisher ski mask instead, and like a Punisher flak jacket.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know what this story's gonna do. I don't know how long it will last before they cancel it. Like every Punisher book, because this is like what the 10th Punisher series at this point. There's not much you can do with the Punisher before he gets bored, before he gets monotonous, especially now that they don't do a Max series anymore, which is what I think Edmondson wants to do. He wants to do a Max type series, but Marvel now is like, no, we have to have Electro in here, we have to have Crossbones in here, we have to have whoever in here, and that's what this book is really coming out to. So, as a standalone issue, it was really enjoyable, with the exception of the art. Sometimes I got confused on who was who, because all the men, their faces are drawn very similarly, so you have to go with like how their hair looks, which is always a bad sign.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and so yeah, I enjoyed it. It was violent, dumb fun.
It sounds
Sounds
very
like it.
military rah-rah, so...
Oh yeah.
Simplify.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Any other Marvel books you want to talk about?
I have 3.
Awesome.
Anybody read Deadpool?
No, I was gonna pick up Deadpool until the wedding issue, and then I was astonished that they would actually charge $10 for a single comic book.
If you're gonna buy a single recent Deadpool issue, pick that one up. That is worth $20. That was
really, because I was just gonna pick up the hardcover of it when they released like the omnibus. Now,
although all the recent stuff, you can basically get that issue and get all the good recent stuff there. So, then they had Deadpool, Dracula's Gauntlet. Anyone pick that up? No? What a shock! I'm hoping no one else does either, so that they stop.
So they stop.
Thunderbolts, does that count?
What?
I pick up Thunderbolts and Deadpool's in that. Does that count?
Yeah, Thunderbolts.
Oh god, I don't get that and there's Deadpool in it. My collection's incomplete.
Yeah.
The one I'm hoping someone did pick up, though, was did anybody get Daredevil?
No.
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
I know. None of us read that Eisner Award-winning book. What's up with that?
Well, I
They
cannot.
talk about Foggy in here? This was huge, monumental, but...
I tried.
You tried? You couldn't...
Yeah,
couldn't-
I picked up several issues. I just couldn't get into it.
Who's
Yeah,
writing?
my mistake was I started picking it back up again because everybody kept talking about how great it was and it was winning the Eisner and all that kind of stuff. I picked it up before the last run of it ended, and I picked it up during the whole Halloween going to
Yeah,
That's
we picked it
Virginia.
up at the same time.
right,
Those
and
were
we
the-
dropped it. And we dropped it at exactly the same time too. It was like
Those
read
were
those issues and went,
the worst issues of this entire...
I know,
This
I know.
is connected.
"Oh, is it really?"
Yeah,
See,
oh yeah,
and everybody-
this is
and
the
everybody
same
said-
run, they just renumbered it. because-
Right. They
Wow.
renumbered it and added $1. Yeah.
Yeah, well... But,
right. So
you asked who was writing it?
Yeah, who is writing it now? Is it still
It's still Mark Waid and Samney doing it. It's the same book. It's just the only difference with the break is it's $1 more an issue, which if you're going to be paying that much for a comic, this one is one you could be doing and not feel bad. And he moved to LA as part of the break. And there's a whole thing with Foggy
San
being
Francisco.
that they talk about. Yeah.
Hmm.
San Francisco, you know, that California place that no one believes exists or whatever, right? Yeah.
the one I live in?
Yeah,
Oh,
just except for those of us who.
How are the unicorns?
Just go ahead and say it. They're awesome. I smoked one yesterday. Oh,
That's Portland.
oh, that's right.
You have to have a prescription in California.
No, you don't where I'm at.
Not in my state.
Not in my state.
At any rate.
Not in Grand Old Colorado.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't know, that was it for Marvel. But no one reads Deadpool. I'm shocked.
I read the last series. I own the first 2 volumes, and I got really annoyed because I thought I picked up Deadpool Volume 1 because this was when I was really getting into Marvel and stuff. And I thought Secret Invasion was like a Deadpool joke. And
Oh, that's volume 3.
It's volume of Deadpool of that series, and then Dark Reign happened in the next arc. So literally, I'm like, I got really discouraged because I'm like, they just use Deadpool for events.
Yeah, you read Waypool, not Deadpool, so there's levels of quality to jump up from.
Any Deadpool I've read has just been a cruel joke on me, so I know I need to go back and read the Kelly stuff, right?
The Gail Simone stuff is the only stuff I'm gonna. But yeah,
you're right. I need to go back and read the Kelly stuff. I understand that at some point I will come across it and I will read it, and then we will have a discussion.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Any other Marvel? I don't know if anything else came out this week, except for X-Force, but
yeah.
Oh,
Any Marvel news? I haven't really heard anything that's really going on in Marvel. I'm assuming everything's kind of quiet because we got how many weeks until
Guardians?
yeah, that's August 1st or that week.
So when's the Comic-Con? When's the San Diego?
It's the end of the month.
Is it? So I'm assuming we're not going to really hear much until that. I tell you the truth, I'm kind of surprised that DC's been announcing and talking about their creative changes as much as they have.
Yeah.
Except it's starting to feel more and more like most comic book stuff gets talked about now before the con, because the con gets used for movies and all that kind of stuff now. So
Yeah.
TV and
But so let's roll into some independent books. Anybody read any indie books, quote unquote indie books that they're interested in talking about? What do you got, Jerry?
I read Walking Dead, but I want to talk about the news with Walking Dead series first.
Okay.
Lauren,
What's that?
who plays Maggie on Walking Dead, went on on Twitter, I think, and said that half of the stuff they shot for season 5 can't be aired on TV. It's
Why?
too graphic. It's too. What they're in right now is the equivalent of, if you guys ever read Walking Dead Volume 11, Fear the Hunters, where they deal with the cannibals.
Yeah.
That and how they all met their demise, which is really disturbing, and I think the director went overboard with that because now there's more of them in the show. And Stephen Yen was on Live with Kelly and Michael. I know because I watched right before I went to school, and he backed her statement up, and it was just a little too intense. So I don't know how much is going to actually get aired on television, how much is going to get edited out because AMC just says no, this is just too disturbing.
I wonder where the producers are at to
Well,
keep a
Robert
handle on it.
Kirkman produces it, and he's probably all for it.
Put it back in on the DVD.
Yeah, well, actually, AMC punished them in season 1 for their second episode where they covered themselves in the guts.
Oh yeah.
Literally the episode was called Guts. They actually cut it out on the DVD, like as punishment that it snuck by and aired on television.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
See, to me that isn't that bad, but I guess whatever. The zombie apocalypse. I mean, whatever. Interesting. So what's going on in The Walking Dead, right? Because we took this jump ahead in time. The last time I remember anybody talking about Walking Dead, I don't read it, so.
So, in Walking Dead, All Out War ended. That double shipping nightmare 12 arc is done. Can I spoil things here? I know people get a little upset.
Go for it.
Well, okay. So in All Out War, all the communities rose up against Negan and the Saviors, and instead of killing Negan and giving him the governor treatment, Negan is he gets his throat cut, and they literally sew his throat back up, and he's imprisoned for life while Rick punishes him and says, "This is how I'm going to rebuild America, and you're going to sit and watch and see how you did everything wrong." So that's going on, and we jump what I can only describe as about 6 months. I thought it was a year until they said something to the effect of they were still cleaning up the mess of All Out War, so I'm thinking it's 6 months. Basically, Rick's not the main character anymore. We are introduced in 127 to some new characters who I don't really care for. I tried to like them, and at this point in 129, they're obnoxious. Their leader, this woman who I can't remember the name of, because what's happening out with Walking Dead is too many characters. She just doesn't trust Rick. You know, Rick is giving her all these reasons to trust her. These people have been on the road the whole zombie apocalypse, which at this point has been 2 years. I think it's been 2 years. Carl is going to trade school essentially to learn to make weapons, so he's moving away. And Carl now is like a weirdo, and he likes to talk to Negan all the time, and because Negan's imprisoned in its own separate house, and people visit him never except to give him food, and Carl still wants to kill Negan. But he's friends with him, which doesn't make sense until you realize that Carl's insane, and so it just makes sense. I mean, the kid gunned down 12 of Negan's soldiers with a M16 and didn't care. And he's killed. I think he's killed more people than Rick has up until All Out War. So Carl's going off to trade school, and Rick's taking him with him, and then there's these two guys that we are barely ever introduced to, and they run into a herd of zombies, and one gets injured because his horse bucks him off and collapses and breaks his leg. And so they're limping, and they're being chased by zombies, and it's literally 2 panels in this book. I guess this would be better collected, but since I'm reading it single issues because I'm impatient, I get to suffer with that. Rick flips out on this guy because they run into walkers, and Rick got his leg broken in All Out War, and of course they did the best they could with healing him, but he probably will never be able to run again. He walks with a cane. He's got a hook for a hand. The guy's just a mess. And
he's like that guy from Preacher.
Yeah. So Rick tries to deal with 3 walkers, and he's almost eaten, and Carl has to save him. And then this guy runs up who's doing a patrol, and then Rick loses his shit and beats the crap out of the guy, and yells at him and says, "You're going to be reported," because the guy's not even part of his community. He's part of the Kingdom, which I guess Michonne's living at, and she hasn't been in the last 3 issues. So I'm like, is she dead? Has something happened to her? So I guess she's there. Huh. And it ends with these new people go into where Negan's being held, and Negan literally flips out, and he lies to him. He's like, "Oh, these people are effing monsters," and that's how it ends. So we're literally going to get the "you should have killed Negan" story.
Right.
In my opinion, All Out War should have ended differently, and they should have ended this series. It's going on too long, and that's why. And we're getting this arc. They just need to wrap it up soon. But Robert won't because it's his baby.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean.
Why would you stop the cash cow now, right?
Yeah, I mean, is he still doing Invincible? Is that still coming out?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's his other big one.
Yeah, those are his 2. And then he has that occult outcast thing with the demonic possession that just
started. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, but Walking Dead's his baby, and the phone's going off. Never mind. Yeah. It was an issue.
So, anybody pick up this book?
Yes. Yep.
Life After?
Mm-mm. I probably should have.
What'd you think, Mike?
It was definitely very interesting. I mean, right away you're trying to figure out and solve what's going on, and so you jump through all the different ones. Is it Matrix? Is it Lost Island? Each one I think I felt it was fitting a genre, and so I just had to guess which one because it was really weird. It's one of those left of field kind of books.
Right.
It was nice. I mean, it was when I looked at how many little blurbs this guy had to do right at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was just crazy with how much artwork he packed into this. Yeah,
But just because it was 25 panel grids.
Yes, yeah.
For three pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was perfect in the sense. Well, the basic premise that we get so far, we got this guy who's basically living the humdrum. Every day is exactly the same life. He wakes up, at the exact same time every day. The sun comes up at the exact same time every day. Brushes his teeth, eats his breakfast, rides the bus, goes to work, sits at work, goes home, eats his dinner, falls asleep on the couch, wakes up the next morning, on and on and on and on. And so those 25 panels kind of set up that anybody who's at least getting close to my age, and you've had the same job for a long time and whatnot, that whole, I'm just going through the motions of what I guess I'm calling life. And while he's thinking about all of that, there's these other text bubbles that are popping in occasionally, and somebody's manipulating something. Somebody's manipulating exactly when the sun does come up. Somebody's manipulating the temperature of his house. Somebody's manipulating how comfortable his bed isn't or isn't. Somebody's manipulating the traffic. So you got this kind of almost Truman type feel to it in some sense. That this guy's right, and finally one day there's been this woman that he sees every day who drops this handkerchief, and he finally gets up the nerve to actually, he's been thinking all these years, I should pick up that handkerchief, I should go to her and say, here it is, maybe this would be the love I've never had in my life, or those sorts of things. He finally gets up the nerve to go and say, hey, you, and in the process of doing that, things start breaking down. He touches the bus driver, and the bus driver almost talks like he's a robot, repeatedly telling that he can't get off at this stop because it's not his stop, because it's not the routine. He's changed the routine. Everybody does the exact same thing, and he's doing something different. And it starts kind of a chain of events of him kind of getting cycled through different eras in time. At some point, there's a power surge. Literally, a building disappears and a new building appears. So we're not sure exactly what's going on. And it ends with him landing in what he's been told is purgatory, and he's talking to Ernest Hemingway at the end of the book. That's Ernest Hemingway is like, hey, how's it going? And so he's hanging out with Ernest Hemingway at the end of it in purgatory, trying to figure out what's going on.
And it seems like he has the ability when he touches somebody, it's that psychic, I can read their mind, or I can tell what their
he gets their story.
Was.
Right.
Yeah. And then Hemingway even asked him, well, how did you kill yourself?
Right, and we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that he's committed suicide, but the implication is obviously with Hemingway, because Hemingway,
famously ate the shotgun.
Ate the shotgun and bled all over his orange juice. Yeah, interesting. And we don't know that he's committed suicide, but obviously he must have. We think to have gotten himself where he's at. So what's that story going to be? Written by Joshua Hale Falkoff, who's written I, Vampire and Bunker and some other books that I've really enjoyed. That's why I got the book. It was pretty much a gimme for him. I try not any of his independent stuff to see what it's like. So I'm curious to see what's next. With it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought so too. It was like I said, right away you're trying to guess at what it was, and I did not know how long it would stretch out. This is very compressed. I
Yeah.
mean, you already know he's in purgatory, he has powers, and there are people who control all the outside aspects. So I'm interested to see where this is going to jump to next also.
Yeah, and the pictures of Purgatory look bizarre. I mean, there's elephants walking down the street with people riding in little domes outside the elephants, and spaceships, and Purgatory is just this very random looking space. So I think it's gonna be an interesting and fun book. Yeah. Any other indie books?
Oh, I have a bunch here.
I do too. So.
From Dark Horse, I got Star Wars issue 19. Brian Wood writing this arc. Well, he's been writing this whole series. It's difficult when you have the original trilogy characters to write a new story, because everything in the Star Wars canon until Disney just retconned it and said it's not a thing, which now they're back saying that it is kind of a thing because of the outrage. Brian Wood has done his best to make a story that hasn't happened yet. With the first arc, it was called In the Shadow of Yavin, and it was about how the rebels don't have a home anymore because they blew up the Death Star, and now all the Empire wants to murder them. And then there was the second arc. It started to go downhill with in the ruins of Alderaan, and they found a new home in the last arc, and literally the dumbest Star Wars arc I've read in like years. Princess Leia almost married herself to keep the rebellion on this planet. Like, she had to marry this prince. But then they were betrayed by the Empire. Shock. And they had to leave the planet, and the planet's ruined now because of the rebellion.
I didn't even realize that Brian was still writing the Star Wars book.
Yeah. Well, this story, this is the last arc here. Marvel gets the rights to Star Wars next year. So basically, everyone writing Star Wars doesn't care at this point. It's with the exception of Legacy 2, because it got so bad they had to change authors. With this, because the last arc was so bad, they had to put another arc in the arc where Darth Vader horribly murdered someone, and they called it 5 Days of the Sith, which was awesome. Just a 2-off thing. This, the main cast, we got Han Solo, Leia, Chewbacca, Luke. They're going off on this mission to find one of Leia's friends who has been undercover for the rebellion for years now, and she just went AWOL and is hiding out on this junk planet, and she's being chased by if you saw Empire Strikes Back, that weird robot that's part of the Bounty Hunters, IG-88, it's a robot like that. It may be him. It didn't say, but he's now following the Millennium Falcon because Han Solo and Chewbacca are wanted by the Hutts, even though he was chasing this other woman. So now they're all in hyperspace at the end of this, and basically this was an exposition issue. And I'm not thrilled, but it's better than what it has been. It's annoying that Brian Wood's such a good writer, but he just doesn't really care that much at this point, because this isn't going to be affecting anything by the end of the year, which is really unfortunate with this book. So, yeah, not much.
Anybody read Coffin Hill?
I did.
I'm on issue 4 of that, so I'm slowly getting there at this point.
What you think, Jen?
I like it. It was a little slower for me, maybe, than it had been, but I'm still really enjoying it. I want to see where it goes. I guess usually when you know something about the future and then they're going back to tell you the story, I'm not so excited about it.
Well, right, because in a sense you know what's going to survive and what's not going to survive. Yeah, I guess for me, it's just because we don't know exactly what went down for her catching the ice fisher, and that I'm just really excited. I'm still really enjoying the book to see exactly how she goes about getting that. She's obviously got a game plan. Her now we've discovered she has no intention of arresting this serial killer. So because we did see in the first arc that she shoots this guy.
And something's going to happen to her eye, I think. So I really want to find out kind of what that is.
Yeah, if it really is just her getting, because we know she gets shot, but by the pimp drug user dude. But is that really what affects her eye or not? Is definitely interesting. Plus the fact we have those. Plus the fact we have, of course, in the house, set in the current time, we have those right. We have those girls at the very beginning. And that disturbing panel of the whatever they are hanging upside down behind her, that's gonna just be really cool as to what that is. The art in it continues to be amazing. I'm really curious to see the crappy older brother of the sheriff has come back into town. What's he up to? And of course our sheriff has gone off the wagon and he's kind of a mess, and so there's a lot going on. I really like the book. I think it's a beautiful book. The story's interesting. I like the way it's told, and I love the art on it. So excited to see what happens with this art.
The art's beautiful. I love that book. So.
Like I said, I'm excited to hear how this all works together. How is she going to get herself out of jail? How did this whole thing get solved? And what were the repercussions of it? And then, quite honestly, I like the book enough. I'm curious to see then what's next. What's the?
Oh yeah, me too. So, yeah, it's cool.
Any other indie books? Matt, did you pick up any indie books? Did you pick up Shudder, Matt?
Yo, yeah, I'm loving Shudder.
Let's talk Shudder. Because I want to.
Yeah. Read it. I don't have the issue on me, but okay. I feel like this issue did a good job of because the one complaint I've heard from people, which I think is somewhat understanding, is that it's kind of been all over the place as far as the story, and this kind of wrapped it together and kind of gave it a step forward for where we're going. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I was thinking last issue, I'm like, there's all this stuff just going totally apeshit, and nothing's drawing it together. It just felt like it was continuing to explode outwards with nothing to give it anything to kind of hold it together, kind of a thing. There was no skeleton. It was just this big thing going. To me, it felt like. I've been enjoying it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, at some point, to me, it felt like we're gonna have to. And this, you're right. This issue, I think, kind of her sitting down at the dining room table and having that conversation and kind of pulling in who some of these people are anyway. There's still the people that are hired to assassinate her that are in the alley getting their asses kicked by the platypus. That part's still a little on the strange side, right?
I love that. There's just this because it's a lot of animal and
anamorphic
creatures.
Yeah.
And so this mob, shakedown guy isn't a big lion or something. It's a platypus.
Yeah.
It's always knocking people down, and
I'll be right back.
I just thought that was cool, and I love the fact that when they go and they kind of sit down to talk about they've been trying to rein her in, and then the ninjas are like. She's like, they trapped me in a crystal and almost killed me, and they're like, oh, shuck. It's not like words, it's in the way they're drawn. And
right.
Yeah.
So, she gets introduced to one of her siblings towards the end of the book. Is the sibling her dad? Or a clone of dad? Does he not look an awful lot like his... When they were showing younger pictures of her dad? I was really confused. That part right...
I think we'll get something in the next issue about that. It seemed a little suspicious, but it might just be how they're trying to look.
Yeah.
Because
the reveal, it felt to me like, I'm like, wait a second, is this a younger version of her dad? And they're telling her that's the sibling too? And there's still a lot of confusing stuff in it. I really like it. It's just parts of it feel well, this issue was better. It pulled together some of the randomness because up until this, there just seemed like there was a lot of random stuff going on. And I mean, the only thing I did appreciate is even her as the character, the main character, she's going, oh my gosh, this is a bunch of random stuff that wasn't making sense. So I'm okay with that because the character's not acting like it makes sense either. But
And if anyone hasn't checked out Cheddar, I say check it out. This is a book that you could buy just for the art alone. It's incredible.
yeah,
What issue is you guys
4.
on?
This is 4.
All right.
Just came out this week as 4.
Check that out.
Anybody picking up FBP?
I am, but I didn't get to it yet.
Okay, I won't talk a whole lot about it. It's got some great Rosa stuff in it, I will say. We get further her plan. The 2 main characters right now are in an alternate reality that's basically, to the best of our knowledge, is being controlled by one of them. Is kind of has the major control. Their realities actually mesh together in this issue with some interesting results. I'm still really loving the book. I love the art on it, and I love the characters. I'm a bit concerned about where the characters might be going next. I won't say because Jen hasn't read it yet. Yeah, I'm still really digging the book. I just think it's interesting, the alternate reality thing, and this subplot that's going on with Adam, the main character's dad, and all of his field notes and what happened to him is all interesting stuff. Enjoying the heck out of it.
I'm reading Doc Spector. It's a Dynamite book. And he's Doc Spector, Master of the Occult. He is a mixture of Tony Stark, Dr. Stephen Strange. He has his own TV show where he debunks people's mystic powers, but shows his own. Like his very first one, he takes down a vampire using a satellite that he owns to reposition a sunbeam to hit the guy. But he's also
Nice.
got like he had all these charms first, and he was like, the vampire's like, so what is that, garlic? And he goes, no, it's jade. He goes, oh, the rich man's garlic. And he had all these other trinkets and that the vampire knocks out of his hand. After the vampire dies, the guy's like, oh, we'll pick up all your charms and all that. And they got all these PAs picking them up. He goes, oh, no, those are all fakes. He goes, it's just the jade. Grab the jade. He brings a fortune teller onto his show, and he's going to debunk her. And during the process of it, he's hired this redheaded young lady as his Pepper Potts, and ends up that when he gets to Psychicon, she talks about, well, I see this young boy riding a dinosaur and this man fighting a robot, and he's like, well, this is all great. And then all of a sudden, these ghosts come out of this lady and attack him, and they now call this the incident because one person actually gets killed.
Oh,
And
on the TV show?
on the TV show, yeah, and
Nice.
everybody else is fine, and this lady dies also because all these ghosts come springing out of her. And so everything they refer to is before or after the incident. And the problem is I just, as I was reading through, I realized Dynamite has like 4 big books. They have Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter, which is the boy riding the dinosaur. And then there's a guy who fights robots, which he comes out at the end of this book.
Magnus the robot fighter, huh?
Yes, yep. So obviously it looks like they're going to join all these guys together, which is not what I was looking for.
Oh, bummer.
If they keep the Doctor by himself and they continue the storyline, I'm interested. If this is just an attempt to do a crossover or try and get a team book going, that's not what I want, and I'll drop it.
It will probably be a crossover, if anything. Dynamite generally isn't keen, from what I've seen with the Dynamite, that they would cross over that many characters and make a team book.
Alright.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the last one was, but it's a team of 4 they're trying to put together, so.
Mhm.
It's some
Yeah.
kind of crossover.
I was picking up Turok and I dropped it around issue 4. It was just too weird for me. With it wasn't set because the Turok I knew was I played the video games like the Nintendo 64, and
Right.
I really liked the last one that came out, and how it was on a separate planet. But with this series, it's on Earth, but it's like a different alternate Earth because they're like knights in armor, and the dinosaurs are in America, and some of them, and
Yeah.
some of them are in Europe. It was I couldn't get into it. A shame.
Yeah. Well, and in this Doc Spector book, his secretary answers the door, and it's her from another timeline. And then they go back, even like once he closes the door, now it's an older version of him, so it's really weird. And I'd like to see where that flows into and what that develops in. But if it all of a sudden becomes just this crossover, yeah, I don't care about the robot fighter. I don't,
Right.
the Turok, if I want to read that, I want to read it separately. So the next couple issues is what's going to make it or break it for me.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Got any other books we're itching to talk about, or are we going to be done for the night?
I
Can we
have a
talk
few.
about this too?
Oh, Abe Sapien, sure.
Ooh, okay.
Because did it confuse you, Travis? I've only been reading since issue 11.
No,
So
no, it didn't.
So
But
I don't-
I saw on Twitter that a lot of people were talking about the fact that they thought it was confusing.
So maybe you could help out with it. I mean, I get the part where Grace and Abe are going together on their
Journey, right?
their journey, right, to get wherever they're going.
Abe has decided they're going to Texas.
Right, and they're both kind of dealing with their past in their own way, kind of a thing. So
Right.
that was fine, but then there was the weird stuff that happened, like they were tripping or something. So, and who was that woman that could take her body parts apart?
Okay,
That was
now,
weird.
yeah, see, now her I don't know. That's the one thing I do not know. I do not know who she is, and yeah, literally she can pop her limbs off, pop her head off. I that's the one part I was really confused on. I don't know where she fits into the mythos other than she's new. But obviously Grace is asleep. Grace actually falls asleep, so you get her dreaming and her kind of dealing with her issues and whatever. So we get kind of some of her past and some of the people in her past, not clear obviously because it's a dream, so therefore you're not going to get a complete clear picture on that. I think that Abe gets smacked in the head by the lady with the limb. She smacks him in the head,
Oh.
and so he's out for a while, and so he's remembering back to the whole. He's having that dream with Hellboy, and Hellboy's basically kind of sending him on his way about the fact look, you keep saying this, but this really isn't the case. You need to go get your head. You need to go to Texas and get your crap together and get this figured out so you can get back onto what you're supposed to be doing. Kind of a thing. So to me, Grace's thing is pretty. To me, felt like her part was pretty straightforward. Her dreaming about, obviously she got attacked. They obviously got attacked, by something horrible, and that guy that was supposedly protecting her was obviously, she's a victim of his in some sense too. That guy that Abe's talking to while Abe is bleeding is a guy who wrote about Abe. And when Abe was still like a little egg sack, was in this guy's basement, underwater, kind of thing. That's where he plays into that ad. And some of that is just nightmare dream kind of a thing of him trying to get his crap together. I don't know if that explains it very well.
Yeah, that helps actually.
Yeah, most of what's there is just it's their subconscious, basically kicking them in the ass one way or the other. For her, these are obviously people that died at some point when the world came apart, and her trying to deal with that, and her issues and what she needs to move forward. And then there's Abe with all the baggage that he's carrying is he a monster? Is he not a monster? And going and facing those demons or whatever. I'm not 100% sure at the end of this. Are they going off together, or is Grace ditching him there?
I assumed that they were going together.
Together, she just basically tells him, "Look, you're supposed to fight the monsters, and I don't want to hear about your
Right, yeah.
Basically,
She didn't.
and walks off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So no, I guess for me it wasn't that confusing. Just accepting the fact that they're both having dreams. Her because she's finally asleep, and she's having her own nightmare.
Right.
Abe while he was fishing got clunked in the head. But the traveling lady, that kind of crazy lady with the dog, I'm not sure exactly what her role is yet. I've never seen her before. If she's something that's part of the Magnolia universe, the Hellboy universe, it's nothing I've ever seen before. So I think she's new.
Okay.
But what else you got, Jeremy?
Well, I have a couple here. Well, I'll just start with all these are what I find people should be picking up but no one really is. I'll start with this one that came out this week. This is Terminator: Enemy of My Enemy, issue 4 of 6. Now, it was almost simultaneous. As soon as Dark Horse heard that they were losing the rights to Star Wars, they released 2 Terminator series. One follows the 4th Terminator movie, and it's trying to bridge that with the first. And it's too convoluted for me because I can't remember the 4th movie.
Nothing happened in it really, so
gonna say,
not too far off.
But this is basically Terminator: Enemy of My Enemy is a what if, kind of a what if. A Terminator gets sent back to 1985, a year after the original movie, but there is no the Resistance doesn't send anyone back. And this Terminator is sent to kill this doctor who has come up with the what the skin that the Terminators wear is made of, like the enzyme and stuff. But she's just created something that would destroy that, and so the Terminator is sent back to kill her, so that doesn't happen. But the government sends this ex-CIA agent she's pretty chill, and chill as in she's pretty awesome and like kills everyone with like without like a second chance thing. So she's been duking it out with this Terminator for 3 issues, and they finally team up with the idea that once they get their done with their common goal, they're going to kill each other. So it sounds ridiculous, but it's so entertaining.
No, that sounds awesome, man.
Yeah. So they go into what might be a pre-Cyberdyne Systems factory, because Cyberdyne basically doesn't exist yet at this point, and they run into precursors to T-800s, the main Terminator model, and they start fighting those, and at the end they just get their asses kicked. And it's like, who's going to die next issue? So it just cliffhangs. Really fun art. It's graphic, but with Dark Horse, they edit out the swear words, like they put the asterisks and stuff. But it's still got all the blood and violence and some nudity.
That always weirds me out. We can blow someone's head off, but we can't say fuck.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's just a Dark Horse does that.
Yeah.
Well, Marvel does it too with the Punisher thing, but a lot of times Marvel will tame things down. Was from what I saw, like pre-Marvel now, like with Avengers and stuff was tamed down from what it could have been. But with Dark Horse, they're like gung ho for all the violence and stuff, but no swearing. That's taboo. But yeah. But my other 2 books, they came out last week, and the first here is the new RoboCop series. Now, RoboCop, it peaked with the remake movie, which I found wasn't half bad for a tamed down RoboCop movie. it had all these one-shots that went to the new movie, and then they finished off Frank Miller's mess of a script for RoboCop 3 into RoboCop Last Stand, which was just ridiculous. But this goes back to what the first movie really was, which is a satire of the 80s corporate stuff.
Black comedy.
What I can sum up this comic in one word: guns. That is what this whole comic is about. It starts with a criminal just came out of prison, like he's been serving like a decade in there, and he's like, why isn't there crime anymore? And this other guy's like, RoboCop's in town. And so it cuts to RoboCop and a bunch of the Detroit police trying to rescue this officer who's being held captive. And RoboCop literally does his march. He walks up, is up in a building, he walks up several floors, and literally punches the leader in the face and knocks out his eye. So immediately it's back to that classic over-the-top 80s violence that RoboCop had. And in the end, the prisoner, the convict, literally he's like, I have a plan for RoboCop, and the issue ends 3 months later with RoboCop has the task of collecting everyone's guns in the city, unless they're licensed with this criminal, and that's how the issue ends.
Huh.
I really liked it. It's what I wanted out of a RoboCop series. I got that a little bit with the Frank Miller run that his miniseries, but that one was just too ridiculous and out there with the violence and just not having a story and just being 5 issues of violence and then 3 issues of dialogue spread out. But so my last one here is Big Trouble in Little China issue 2. I'm a big Carpenter fan. I don't like all of his work, but I really enjoyed Big Trouble in Little China. And this is, what if the first movie hadn't bombed and they made a sequel? Carpenter co-writes this with Powell, and we get a direct sequel to the first movie. Like, it literally happens, like the very end of the movie is in the first issue.
Mm-hmm.
That weird creature thing at the end that's on his truck is now binded to him, and so now he has this furry, drooling buddy that runs around with him.
Did you pick up issue 2, Jen?
No, I got issue 1, and I liked it, but it felt like it felt like a sequel, you know. And I don't know. I love the movie so much, but I don't know. I may end up picking it up later just because, but I don't know. It was just, I picked it up for nostalgia reasons, and so.
And see, I didn't pick it up because I didn't want to dislike it so much that it might taint the movie for me, because I thought the movie was fun. So.
Yeah. I don't feel it taints the movie. I got issue 1. I just felt it was like when Boondock Saints did their sequel, that it was like they try and re-say the same lines or redo the exact same.
There was a lot of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't stick with it, because I felt like they were just replaying the movie, parts of the movie, same lines. Yeah.
I loved the movie, and I thought the artwork, and I saw the continuation where the monsters bonded to them. Mm-hmm. I was really waiting for it to go way more with that, but it quickly seemed like it was steering right back into.
Yeah.
You liked 1? Well, here's exact same thing. So.
Well, in issue 2, they go into this shadow. They call it the Midnight Zone or whatever, and basically it's Kurt Russell's character just doing his usual thing and talking to all these weird people that are there that really don't care what he has to say. They're talking about these wives he had. Like, one was a werewolf. No, one was a vampire in this. And so it goes off on a tangent about that, which I found pretty amusing. The series itself, it's not a smart series. It's dumb fun. I'll pick up issue 3, but I don't know how long this will last, because it's just geared to people who enjoyed the movie. So, like, I was talking to friends about this who hadn't seen the movie, and they didn't understand it, so it doesn't have a wide audience appeal, I guess. So.
I can see that. I mean, but even that happened with the movie when they released it. Everybody thought it was, they didn't realize it was supposed to be fun, campy, kind of spoofy, but enjoyable. And I think how he blurted out the lines, the interaction, and I just think the comic doesn't give him enough room to do that. I mean, I think, you get only so many panels, so you have to pace it out. And I think it was just throwing out the weird statement, getting the counteraction, or the look in someone's face. I think that's what you're missing by not doing it in a movie and instead doing it in a comic.
Yeah, I think it would have made sense to do like They Live, like made a comic.
Oh yeah,
that.
Like, awesome idea. Yeah.
I'm thinking that might happen next because Carpenter, he doesn't really direct movies anymore. He did Fear the Game 3. He did Fear 3 and like helped do that, and he's done other things. But yeah, I'm thinking he's switching over to comics. He co-writes this. I don't think it'd be half the comic without him writing it, because he's the reason that movie turned out so fun. The script was a mess apparently, and they just needed some other people. They had to rewrite the whole thing. But yeah, I don't know how long it will last though. I see probably 8 issues, maybe, and then they cancel it. But it's Boom, so I don't know how Boom works with that. So.
Yeah, I don't either. But that's definitely a small audience, I would assume. I mean, the audience is going to be the people who love the movie and want more. And that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've run over 2 hours now, I believe. So we're going to, unless you're just desperate, there's something you just gotta talk about. We're gonna call it a night.
I wanted to get the pulse on one comic.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, but is anyone else still?
Of course.
I read it collected.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so collected. Sorry, Jen, are you still reading issue by issue?
Yes.
Yep, so am I.
Okay, where are you guys on this? Because I love this issue, but it really occurred to me, like, we've turned so far from where it started that it feels like a completely different comic now.
What did you love about that issue?
I already know your opinion. All right.
Well, I didn't say I didn't like it, but for me, this issue was flatter than any other issue to date, and I have loved every single issue. There's always moments in them that I go, "Oh my gosh, this was great! This dialogue, this piece of banter back and forth between family members or whatever, I loved." And there wasn't any of that in this issue.
I love the family interaction, and the kid barges in, and it's like, oh, we got to take care of that. And then there's the slow idea of an affair, maybe, kind of building. And then you have the whole actress thing and that dialogue about, like, entertainment as drugs, and, like, well, it made me think differently about this. And it's like, well, did you do anything about it? No, it's drugs. Oh, so you don't like what we're doing. I love drugs. And then
right.
I'm impressionable. Why are you... Look at me, and it was just this whole thing, and it was just all these interactions that I don't see anywhere else. I just loved it. And it was weird to me because it was like all these crazy, really human interactions that I haven't seen in any form of media on anything anywhere, and it's through like bizarre like bog woman, whatever that alien's supposed to be, and our main fairy, and I just love the interaction. I love the dialogue. This is so much stronger, and it hits me so much harder than anything else even Vaughn's done. It's I'm just really loving it for what it's saying as a piece of art, as opposed to just being kind of a throwaway sci-fi thing. It's actually really much more culturally rooted in what America is right now, and that's, I guess, why I'm loving it. So What did you think?
Cool. Well, like I said, I didn't dislike the issue. I guess I didn't get the same things out of it that you did as far as those logs. Because for me, this issue didn't have as many of those kind of magic moments that I was like, oh, man, I can't believe they just, they just said that, or they just came. And I'm not talking about the shock that's at the beginning of the comic or the shocks that are always at the end of the book, which is standard for every single issue now. You've got to have something that people will consider, shocking in it.
And this one has that too, totally.
Well, yeah, of course it does. They, like I said, they always do. Every single issue of Saga, the first page is going to be something to make everybody talk, whatever that is, But I don't know. For me, it wasn't like the whole Marco and the dance instructor and whatnot. I guess that doesn't really interest me. If that's going to actually be an affair, it seems really weak right now. I don't understand why that would. I don't understand why that would happen. There's not enough there for as head over heels. I mean, granted, I know years have passed, obviously, since they were married and had Hazel, but there still doesn't seem enough there that would make him interested versus Alana, I guess. So if that's going to happen, they better show me something else, because otherwise I'm confused as to why he would go for the dancing instructor over sexy Alana. Her persona, the sexy Alana persona. I don't get that. I don't see how that happens. But or maybe that's just my own whatever. But so that part doesn't make a lot of sense if they're actually flirting with that being that. I don't whatever. I did like the piece of dialogue in it where she comes in and the actors are talking like they're going to war, and she's she's irritated with the fact that they're calling it this stuff, and it's like, and she's saying don't use that terminology because it's totally different.
Right.
I enjoyed that because that is cool, and you're right in the fact that it's relevant to now, and that we do have a lot of people coming back from actually being in war zones or combat zones, and they have a completely different understanding of those words and terminology. And when you use them for simple things like being an actor, it's kind of bullshit in comparison to the actual thing. So I did appreciate that part of it. I did think the paneling was interesting because that's one thing that Fiona doesn't do. She doesn't do a lot of special stuff with paneling very often. When Alana takes the drugs and we get that really finely segmented. I thought that was interesting just from an artistic standpoint because it kind of breaks away from what Fiona Staples normally does with the art. So those things I liked about it. But for me, like I said, it didn't have a moment that I was just like, oh my God, this is great. And almost every single issue I picked up, there's been something in it that I've just gone, wow. Not, like I said, not to say that I didn't like the book. The book is still way better than most stuff that's put out there. But this was the first issue. Issue 20 was the first issue that I didn't go, that I wasn't flipping out over, that I wasn't going, oh my God, this is the book we have to talk about first. Because.
It's so different now. It feels like a completely different thing to me, like I said. So. Well,
yeah, because they're not on the run. It's not the crazy pants run from whatever's next kind of thing. Yeah.
It's also not fantasy sci-fi. It's like soap drama opera sort of interpersonal stuff. So it's.
Yeah, but I felt like it's been that for a while though. After those first couple, for me, after those first couple issues, it quit being about them flying around in a tree, running from somebody, as much as it had to do with dead father-in-law, the mother who the grandmother who now doesn't have a husband. What does all of that mean? The whole family dynamic thing. That's what it was for me. It was all about that family dynamic, and then the dynamics of the Will and his hallucination on the planet with the stock and Gwendolyn and all of that. But that, to me, none of that felt really sci-fi. Because that wasn't what it really was about. It's about those people's interactions. But still an amazing book, without doubt.
Well, I have a question then.
Sure.
Is this... I have read Saga Volume 1 and I've read Y the Last Man Volume 1. Do you think Saga is superior to Y the Last Man or vice versa, or are they just different? Because personally, I didn't like Y the Last Man, and I'm like the only person on the planet who didn't care for it. It didn't catch me, but Saga did.
It's an impossible comparison because Y the Last Man... I'm not sure where you fell on Y the Last Man, because I liked Y the Last Man until it started getting closer to the ending, and I realized we weren't going to address the incident that caused the book as closely as I would have wanted.
Mhm.
And that's where that book fell apart for me. And Saga is... from my understanding, it's still kind of on the first half of how long it's supposed to go. So we're nowhere near that kind of conclusion part where Vaughn arguably isn't as strong. So, yes, I like it a lot more right now, but we're also in the part where if we were in Y the Last Man, I'd still be loving that book more than I ultimately did when it was concluded. So, weak answer. I can't tell right now.
I can't compare the two.
Yeah.
They feel, to me, they feel very different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, they both books have some of his strong points in them. I mean, because there's certain things that he does really well, I think. But to me, the books feel so different from each other that, I don't know. And Matt brings up a good point. A good point. And the fact is that I think we're still potentially in honeymoon mode with Saga, and we have the whole. I can't remember specifically Volume 1 versus, because it's been so long since I've looked at it, versus the whole story that is Y the Last Man to really compare the two as far as that goes.
Although I will say Saga's probably closer to his Runaways run than it is to Y the Last Man.
That's right. He wrote.
I think so too. I agree with that.
Yeah. And Runaways was great till Whedon ruined it, so
Yep.
feel free to revile on that if you haven't read that.
I read the first volume of Runaways, and I really enjoyed it. But that was just a weird. Not to get sidetracked, but that was weird that was successful. Because I don't even think that was under the main Marvel imprint.
It was Marvel.
But wasn't it under a side imprint?
No, I think it was, because I mean it's used for all the other ones that Hopeless is using now.
Right.
Huh.
Those characters are all part of the main universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it was a B book, but it wasn't under like an Icon imprint. Marvel doesn't really do that much anyways. So I mean the closest thing was like when you were talking about Punisher, they had the Max stuff, which was separate. But even the Max stuff gets blurred. Like there was the Hood mini that started as Max, but that was considered canon as soon as they turned around and made him an Avengers villain. So Marvel's weird like that.
Yeah, I thought didn't they have Tsunami in like the early 2000s, like that weird imprint that didn't last. That was like they tried to make that jump into manga.
Oh, that.
Yeah, I thought
that bombed so hard, so fast, it's almost irrelevant.
I thought that Runaways was originally printed under that, and then it switched to Marvel.
My impression was from the start it was just one, because I mean it's rooted in Marvel from the very beginning, because all the kids are kids of supervillains, a couple of which were like known supervillains, so it's kind of hard to separate. It's kind of like, is Sandman part of DC proper because he met Martian Manhunter once and then later he tied it in.
Right.
So take it as you want it. At the end of the day, it's a good story either way. So.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to call it a night now.
Yeah.
As much as I enjoy talking books and whatnot, because nobody's going to watch. I mean, we still got 3 viewers, so unless it's us 3 that are viewing, us that are viewing it, we still got 3 or 4 viewers that are crazy enough to be hanging in with her, and I appreciate it. And everybody who watches this afterwards, if you watch it clear to the end, wow. Sleepy Will, he'll be crazy enough to sit through the whole thing, I'm sure. But anyway, I appreciate you all being here. And hopefully again next week we'll get back on track with it being on Fridays like normal, hopefully, and we'll have some more shows. Anyway, thanks you guys for tuning in and watching, and thank you guys for coming on and talking comics with me.
Thanks for letting me. Bye.
Bye.